Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 1568. Qin Wentian stared at the butler. Bring me to the dossiers. Yes, Governor. The butler nodded. After that, he led Qin Wentian to the dossiers room within the governor's manor. This place was extremely vast and there were many dossiers here. Qin Wentian sat down and quietly flipped through them as his expression gradually turned unsightly to behold. Only now did he understand that his northern governor's manor could be considered nothing more than an empty shell. The Lifire city didn't have a city lord position. There was a grand governor who had immense authority and was a trusted aide of the Lifire Empyrean. The 5 governors of the Lifire city were all direct subordinates of this grand governor. The 5 governors were responsible for managing everything in the vast Lifire city, including all assets of the Lifire Empyrean. In Lifire city, all buildings were registered and belonged to the Lifire Palace. Even if they were purchased by others, they would still have to hand over resources to the Lifire Palace every 10 years. There were also some inns, restaurants, trading places, auction houses, etc. They had to pay even more taxes and would also have to be paid once every 10 years. As for the Lifire Palace, the 5 governors were responsible for the safety of the entire city, protecting everything. No one was allowed to commit crimes in Lifire city or commit crimes. If not, the governor's manor would immediately move out to apprehend the offender and punish the offender according to the laws of Lifire city. The rules were extremely strict. In other words, all of these matters had to be handled by the 5 governors. The northern region was so vast, Qin Wentian only needed to casually flip through the dossiers, and he could already see countless powers. For this governor's manor, there was actually only a butler and 2 serving girls in the inner region. There were also only 3,000 people in the outer region, and the 3 governors weren't present. This was simply a terrible mess. Qin Wentian thought of some of the major cities in the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. For example, the Southern Phoenix Immortal City was somewhat similar to Lifire City. These major cities strictly forbade killing and protected everything within. Hence, truly majestic cities were suitable for experts to reside in. Also, businesses would flourish and this would naturally form a virtuous cycle. The bigger the city, the stronger the number of experts would be, becoming the gathering place for aristocratic clans and clans. The evil emperor was here as well, reading through the scrolls together with Qin Wentian. He was in human form. His muscular body exuded explosive might. Before the Night Empyrean and Yi Qianyu, he was used to appearing in the form of a demonic beast. But now that the Night Empyrean was dead and Yi Qianyu was captured, he didn't belong to anyone else. Hence, it was more convenient for him to move around in his human form. The Lifire Palace is truly wealthy. Humph, the evil emperor coldly snorted. Leaving aside the vast amount of resources the Lifire Palace controlled, just this Lifire city alone would be able to harvest a tremendous amount of resources every 10 years. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying the lifelong realm lord, the overlord of a world, was. However, the stronger one was, the more resources they would need. The stronger they were, the more resources they would need. No wonder those Empyreans would fight for territory, wanting to gain control of an area. After becoming the lifelong realm lord, he didn't even need to do anything and there would be an endless supply of cultivation resources sent to him. He only needed to cultivate quietly. The position of a governor isn't so easy to do. This is especially so for the northern city regions. I finally understand why Governor Meng was so excited when he left. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. How can there be such an easy thing to do? You can keep 10% of the resources collected by the northern city regions for yourself. You can use it however you want. You must know that even ordinary bandits wouldn't be as wealthy as you. The evil emperor replied. However, it doesn't seem to be so easy to be the northern city region's governor. There are so many miscellaneous matters to take care of. Yet this governor's manor is in a state of chaos. If I have to worry about these matters every day as a governor, how would I be able to cultivate in peace? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. He understood that the most important thing for him was still cultivation. However, the Lifire Empyrean tossed him here. Most probably, he wouldn't be able to calm his heart down. This old fellow was hesitating earlier. I'm sure he knows many things. Let me ask him. The evil emperor glanced at the butler who had been standing outside the door. Qin Wentian knew that the evil emperor had a certain ability. He nodded. Sure, you can ask the questions. Be more direct. The eyes of the evil emperor flashed with a demonic light. Very swiftly, the eyes of the butler also flashed with a green light. That honest and simple-minded gaze turned blank. After that, the evil emperor started to ask questions. Very swiftly, Qin Wentian learned many things he wanted to know. His expression grew increasingly heavy. The Jiaolong clan was so wealthy that it could rival cities. Even the Lifire Empyrean wasn't as wealthy as the Jiaolong clan. In the vast Lifire city there were countless businesses owned by the Jiaolong clan, as well as the businesses they controlled in the dark. Not only so, in the other regions controlled by the Lifire Palace, their shadows could be seen everywhere. The Jiaolong clan controlled many auction houses, trading places for divine weapons and treasures. The profits from these places were extremely shocking because experts were as common as the clouds in the Jiaolong clan. In the northern city regions, the Jiaolong clan could cover the sky with a single hand. Many people in the governor's manor had been bribed by them. If anyone wanted to go against the Jiaolong clan, they could use many methods to kill you. No one would be able to find out the culprit. The Lifire Empyrean was very particular about rules. Even if the Jiaolong clan knew that there were governors who died in the hands of the Jiaolong clan before, there was no evidence. The Lifire Empyrean couldn't do anything to them. And given the Jiaolong clan's control, they could hide in the shadows most of the time, not leaving any traces behind. Sometimes, even if you found the culprit, you would discover that the clues would suddenly be cut off. There was no way to link it back to the Jiaolong clan. If this was the case, how would the Jiaolong clan dare to go against the Lifire Empyrean? According to what the old butler said, there were some rumors saying that even on the side of the lifelong realm lord, the Jiaolong clan had people standing behind them. In fact, the true controller of the Jiaolong clan had once fought against the Lifire Empyrean for the position of the Lifire Empyrean. Hence, the Jiaolong clan and the Lifire Empyrean had always been competing in the dark. This was basically no secret. The Jiaolong clan had provoked the Lifire Empyrean countless times within the rules. And this time around, the Lifire Empyrean had borrowed the hands of Qin Wentian and Yi Qinyu to ruthlessly teach the Jiaolong monarch a lesson. Naturally, they were also taking advantage of the situation. It was impossible for the Lifire Empyrean to take the initiative to act against the Jiaolong monarch. If that was reported to the Realm Lord, what would the Realm Lord think of it? Hence, all the conflicts between the Lifire Empyrean were all within the rules. And now Qin Wentian was embroiled in this. He was treated as a chess piece by the Lifire Empyrean and was placed on the northern governor's seat. Qin Wentian also understood why there was only a butler and 2 serving girls in the governor's manor. Also, they were only at the Immortal Foundation realm. It was because no one was willing to work in the governor's manor. After releasing the butler, the 2 serving girls came back to report. Qin Wentian summoned them over and asked, "What's the matter?" "Governor, the outer manor came to report that there are many people causing trouble in the northern city regions. They are requesting for your assistance." The serving girl spoke in a low voice. "What's the matter?" Qin Wentian asked. "Injuring people, seizing treasures, stealing, causing trouble. There are all sorts of matters." The serving girl lowered her head. "These matters need to be reported to me personally. Can't the people below handle it?" Qin Wentian inclined his head and glanced at the serving girl as he asked. If the people below didn't know how to handle things, wouldn't the governor have to be busy all the time? For example, if the 9 monarchs couldn't manage their territories well and the truth was reported to the lifelong realm lord, what use would the 9 monarchs have? If the 9 world palace lords didn't manage their territories well, and the lifelong realm lord learned of this, would the realm lord be able to manage the affairs of the entire lifelong realm alone? They said that they don't dare to make decisions on their own, and have to consult the governor. Also, feel free to speak your mind. Also, it will soon be the time to collect the tributes. If we can't handle these matters well, those people would surely use this as an excuse to refuse to pay the tributes. The serving girl spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian nodded. "You can leave first. Also, pass down my order. Summon the 3 vice-governors here to see me." "Yes." The serving girl nodded and left. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness. Their actions were truly fast. He just assumed the position and there were already so many things waiting for him to handle. Clearly they came prepared. Evil Emperor, can I directly use the people from the Thousand Feathers Palace? Qin Wentian glanced at the evil emperor beside him as he asked. The palace lord is trapped in the Lifefire jail. If it wasn't for you compromising, the Thousand Feathers Palace would already be gone. You can temporarily act as the palace lord's representative and give the orders. It's just that, do you really intend to be used by the Lifefire Empyrean as a chess piece? Even if you are used by him, he wouldn't release the palace lord. The evil emperor spoke. But at the very least, as long as we are used by him, nothing would happen to Qinyu. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared outside as a cold light flashed in his eyes. He naturally understood that if he wanted to save Yi Qinyu, he mustn't allow himself to be controlled by the Lifefire Empyrean forever. In an extremely luxurious inn in the northern regions, in an elegant ancient hall, there was a woman dressed in a thin but sexy dress who was dancing. In the center there was a woman playing a zither. She was clad in a white dress that seemed translucent. Her skin was as white as snow and the melody of the zither was extremely beautiful. Her face was covered by a veil, adding a sense of allure to her beauty. At the very front there were 3 people seated there enjoying the music. One of them laughed. Fairy you are getting more and more beautiful. Indeed. Another person smiled. Oh yeah, did you guys receive the report from our subordinates? That new governor is summoning us to wait for his orders. We did. The person opposite him nodded. What do the 2 of you plan to do? The eyes of the person in the lead gleamed brightly. He was still staring at the zither-playing beauty. A faint smile could be seen on his face as though he didn't hear anything. Brother Zhao, are you not going to say anything? That person below asked when he saw this scene. There's no need to bother with them. That Governor Zhao laughed, his words causing the eyes of the person who asked to flash. This new governor is named Qin Wentian. He was personally sent here by the Lifefire Empyrean. I heard that the Jialan monarch suffered a great loss in his hands and his combat prowess is extremely powerful, even able to kill mid-stage immortal emperors. Should we be more cautious? Should we go and take a look? Governor Liu. The people of this world love to spread rumors and exaggerate things. So what if his combat prowess is very strong? With the 3 of us together, what can he do to us? Let's ignore him for a period of time first. When he urgently needs us, he would naturally look for us. Now, he summoned us with just a single sentence? Does he really think he is the Grand Governor? Governor Zhao coldly laughed. The lips of the youngest governor curled up in a smile, but he didn't say anything. Some things it was best not to say it out loud. It was fine as long as everyone understood. Most probably, they should have already received news from the Jialan clan. Chapter 1569. It has already been 3 months since the new northern governor took up his position. During these 3 months there were no movements at all. The governor's manner became even more lazy. Before this, there were still some people who were extremely cautious. But after 3 months, the entire governor's manner was like scattered sand. This new governor would most probably be the same as the previous governors. He wouldn't care about anything and would just waste his time here until he was transferred away by the Lifefire Empyrean. In the inner residence of the governor's manor, a powerful law energy suddenly descended from the sky. This was Emperor Light. Many people in the governor's manor inclined their heads and glanced over. Who took out an emperor-ranked weapon? In Qin Wentian's sleeping quarters, a figure flashed as he entered. This figure was a little lion. When he saw the situation inside, his gaze instantly froze. At this moment, Qin Wentian was standing on a cultivation platform and had activated the grand formation of the platform. The astral light radiating from the platform originated from this. This is the cultivation platform you created? The evil emperor stared at the figure on the platform as he asked. Although the quality of this platform is a little inferior compared to the one created by Senior He Tu, at the very least my cultivation isn't affected. Evil Emperor, I have to thank you for this. Qin Wentian nodded to the evil emperor. That cultivation platform was originally created by the Lifefire Empyrean for you. It's only right for him to give it to you after he dismantled the materials. The evil emperor calmly spoke. Seems like your talent isn't just limited to cultivation and combat. You actually have such a high level of proficiency in formations. With such proficiency in formations, you don't need to worry about cultivation resources at all. Even if you don't join any major powers and are just an unaffiliated cultivator. It's still far from enough. I still need to be stronger in this aspect. Qin Wentian didn't feel too much joy. He then asked, did any of the 3 vice-governors answer the summons? The evil emperor shook his head. A faint smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Since this is the case, let's go to the outer residence for a walk. Right? The evil emperor nodded. After that, Qin Wentian walked out of his sleeping quarters. With a single step, he soared through the air and a moment later, he stood in the training grounds of the governor's manor. Before him, there was a training platform that could accommodate tens of thousands of people. There were 9 war drums in the surroundings and he stood in the air. His robes fluttered in the wind and with a wave of his hand, a thunderous boom rang out, shaking the sky, transforming into terrifying sound waves that engulfed the governor's manor. At this moment, many people in the governor's manor inclined their heads and glanced over. After that, several figures sped over, only to see Qin Wentian standing in the air with his hands behind his back. Exuding magnificence through the generations, he didn't even glance at them. In an instant, a formless pressure enveloped the entire training ground. Those who came here all stood on the platform and bowed. We pay our respects to the governor. Qin Wentian still stood in the air, not saying a word. More and more experts arrived and very swiftly, over 1,000 people appeared on the platform. All of them bowed and paid their respects. The formless might of an immortal emperor radiating from Qin Wentian was sufficient to cause them to feel immense pressure. His immortal sense swept out, enveloping the governor's manor. Everyone has arrived. However, out of the 3,000 people in the governor's manor, only about 1,000 or so appeared here. Where are Zhao Yichuan, Lu Tong and Zhong Zihua? Qin Wentian calmly spoke, his voice devoid of emotions. The entire training ground was silent. No one replied. These 3 were none other than the 3 vice-governors of the governor's manor. It has been a very long time since they last appeared in the governor's manor. The entire training ground was silent. The atmosphere was somewhat stifling. The 3 vice-governors aren't here. In that case, the attendants under them can all step out. Qin Wentian spoke again. A moment later, more and more attendants stepped out. Each vice-governor had 10 attendants under them, for a total of 30 attendants. However, only 12 of them stepped out right now. I'll give you all the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. Zhao Yichuan's subordinates stand in the center, the 10 attendants and your subordinates stand in a line respectively. Lu Tong's subordinates stand on the left, Zhong Zihua's subordinates stand on the right. Qin Wentian's voice was as calm as ever. There was basically no need for the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. In just an instant, the 30 formations appeared on the training ground. However, the number of people in each formation was different. I believe that all of you have the means to send a message to your governors, attendants and subordinates, telling them to pass down my orders immediately. Within 4 hours all of you have to appear here. If any one of you dares to conceal anything and go against the governor's orders, you all should know what punishment you will receive. Qin Wentian flicked his sleeves as he sat down on the high seat and closed his eyes in meditation. Everyone took out their messaging crystals and sent their immortal sense into them. Although messaging crystals were extremely valuable, those who could serve the governor's manor were all at least at the immortal king realm. They would all be equipped with messaging crystals to make it easier for them to carry out missions. After the order was given, not long after, people hurriedly rushed back. The number of people gathered on the training ground grew more and more. After all, the vast majority of them didn't dare to go against the new governor's orders. If not, who knew if the new governor would use them to establish his dominance? But even so, there were still many people who didn't show up. For hours later, there were over 2,500 people gathered on the training ground, but there were still over 400 people who didn't show up. Out of the 30 attendants, 24 of them showed up and 6 of them didn't show up. As for the 3 governors, not a single one of them showed up. Qin Wentian glanced at the 6 attendants who were absent. With a wave of his hand, 6 beams of light landed on 6 of them as he spoke. The 6 of you will take over the positions of the 6 attendants from now on. The expressions of the 6 changed. One of them directly lowered his head and said, "Lord Governor, your subordinates are useless and don't dare to take on the position of an attendant. Reporting to Governor, the attendants might have been carrying out some missions outside and were delayed." Another person spoke in defense. The other four didn't say anything. Qin Wentian nodded. "I respect your opinions." After speaking, he waved his hand again as the beams of light landed on the other two. "I'll appoint the two of you as the new attendants. Are you willing?" "I'm willing." One of them clenched his fists and nodded. The eyes of the other flashed with sharpness as he bowed. "Your subordinates will obey the governor's orders." The two who spoke earlier all had pale expressions. Such an appointment was a little too decisive. "After I took over, I've never given out any missions. No matter who it is, no one has a mission on them. Even if they are patrolling or doing some other things, for hours is more than enough for them to return. All attendants, count the people in your respective formations, and report the names of those who didn't show up. I will erase their names from the governor's manor. Your subordinates came late. Please forgive us, Lord Governor." A voice rang out as three figures sped over. The person in the lead had a dignified countenance and his cultivation base was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm. He was one of the 10 attendants under Lu Tong. Qin Wentian glanced at him. "Before this, you have already been expelled from the governor's manor. Right now, you are no longer a member of the governor's manor. The three of you leave immediately. Reporting to Governor, we do have urgent matters to attend to. This is a mission given to us by Governor Lu. There was a robbery incident at an auction house and we are heading there to handle it. Governor, you can ask Governor Lu about it." That peak stage immortal king continued to bow. Although he seemed respectful, the fact that he mentioned Governor Lu's name made Qin Wentian's ears feel a little piercing to his ears. Was he talking about Lu Tong? "This seat has given the order for the three of you to return within 4 hours. If you are carrying out a mission outside, you can report to Governor Lu and get him to report to me. I will naturally understand. However, this seat didn't receive any reports at all. Hence, let me repeat myself once more. There's no longer a position for the three of you in the governor's manor." Qin Wentian glanced at the attendant as his gaze turned sharp. He then spat out a single word, "Scram." That peak stage attendant froze. When he saw the sharpness in Qin Wentian's eyes, he felt a little guilty. He was wondering why Governor Lu hadn't appeared yet. "Subordinate Lu Tong pays my respects to Lord Governor." At this moment a clear voice rang out. The three immortal kings instantly heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this voice. An instant later, Vice Governor Lu Tong appeared in the air. He stood there and clasped his hands to Qin Wentian. "Ever since Governor Qin took office, I have been busy with missions and didn't have the time to come to the governor's manor. Today, I learned that Lord Governor has summoned me and immediately rushed over. I hope that Lord Governor won't blame me." Qin Wentian sat there, inclined his head and stared at Lu Tong. His eyes were incomparably calm. He didn't reply and simply stared at Lu Tong. Lu Tong was a mid-stage immortal emperor. He naturally wasn't an ordinary character. His expression was still filled with respect as he calmly clasped his hands. "Are you talking to Lord Governor Qin?" The eyes of the evil emperor flashed with a demonic green light. He inclined his head and stared at Lu Tong. Lu Tong stood in the air, looking down from above. What attitude was this? "Governor, please forgive me." Lu Tong had an awkward look on his face. After that, he landed in front of the platform and clasped his hands. "Lu Tong came here in a hurry and didn't think too much. I hope that Governor Qin won't blame me. Vice Governor Lu, can you help this seat to ask when Governor Zhao and Governor Zhong would be able to come?" Qin Wentian suddenly smiled as he asked. Lu Tong bitterly smiled and shook his head. "Governor Qin, right now, I have no way to contact Governor Zhao and Governor Zhong." "Is that so?" This seat still wanted to treat the three governors to a few cups of wine. "I didn't expect that it would be so difficult to find them." Qin Wentian stood up and helplessly shrugged. Lu Tong coldly laughed in his heart. Was this Qin Wentian trying to rope them in? As for the immortal king subordinate of Lu Tong, a look of disdain could be seen on his face. "Oh yeah, I've tried to contact the three governors 3 months ago but there's no reply. Could it be that your subordinates didn't manage to relay my message to Vice Governor Lu?" Since this is the case, what's the point of having these fellows around? Governor, please don't blame them. This subordinate knew that Governor Liu wanted to meet you, but because I had something important to do, I couldn't return. Please forgive me. Vice Governor Liu shook his head. In that case, they are still guilty. Since Governor Liu told them that you had something important to do, you should have reported it to me. Yet, they actually chose to conceal it, causing me to wait bitterly for 3 months. I can't forgive them so easily. Qin Wentian glanced at the attendants under Lu Tong. Lord Governor, at that time, this subordinate had something urgent to do and didn't have time to reply to them. This has nothing to do with them. Lu Tong replied. Is that so? Qin Wentian suddenly laughed. A cold expression could be seen on his handsome face. When Lu Tong saw his smile, a hint of wariness flashed through his eyes as he hurriedly spoke. Governor Qin, please forgive me. Forgive? In that case, does Governor Liu know that you are guilty? Qin Wentian smiled. Butler, according to the laws of the Li-Fire Palace, a vice-governor failed to obey the governor's orders and didn't reply even after 3 months. What punishment do you have? Chapter 1570. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice rang out, Lu Tong's expression instantly changed, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. In that case, Qin Wentian was merely trying to get information out of him. Qin Wentian wanted to make things clear first. The hearts of everyone on the training ground trembled. With just a single sentence, the situation on the training ground suddenly changed. Earlier, Qin Wentian's words had inadvertently caused Lu Tong to admit that he had received the command 3 months ago. Not only that, Lu Tong didn't reply to it. Even if he wanted to deny it now, it was already too late. The butler, who had been standing at the back, not daring to say anything, felt his heart trembling as he lowered his head even more. I'm asking you a question. Qin Wentian's voice suddenly turned colder. The butler spoke in a low voice. According to the laws of the Li-Fire Palace, the governor can sever one of his arms and expel him from the governor's manor, erasing his name from the records. After that, we will report this to the Li-Fire Palace. Governor Liu, do you know your crime? Qin Wentian stared at Lu Tong as he asked. Governor Qin, this subordinate truly has something important to do and was delayed. I hope that Lord Governor can show mercy. Lu Tong lowered his head, feeling rage in his heart. Was Qin Wentian using him to establish his dominance? Before this, he still thought that Qin Wentian wanted to use a softer approach to rope him in. Who would have thought that things would suddenly change? Sever one of your arms and leave the governor's manor yourself. Qin Wentian stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His voice was so calm that it was terrifying. The entire training ground turned incomparably silent. The crowd didn't even dare to breathe too loudly. This new governor didn't even leave his room for 3 months, waiting for 3 whole months. Did he actually come prepared? Lu Tong's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. His long robes fluttered even though there was no wind as the might of a mid-stage immortal emperor gushed forth from him. He stared at Qin Wentian and coldly spoke. Governor Qin, are you using me to establish your dominance? Qin Wentian's indifferent eyes flashed with sharpness as he stared at Lu Tong. Refusing to admit your crimes, and even daring to slander this seat. Seems like this seat will have to act personally. Lu Tong's eyes gleamed with sharpness. After speaking, he stepped out and gently blasted out with a palm strike. Lu Tong's tyrannical aura gushed forth as he roared in rage. I want to report this to the Grand Governor. As he spoke, he punched out, directly shattering Qin Wentian's attack. A cold smile flickered in his eyes. An initial stage immortal emperor's attack was merely at this level. Seems like the rumors were exaggerated. Qin Wentian stepped out, directly appearing before Lu Tong, exuding a sharp killing intent. Lu Tong punched out again, akin to a true dragon subduing a tiger, containing a demonic might, directly penetrating through everything, shattering Qin Wentian's attack and slamming into Qin Wentian's body. With a groan of misery, Qin Wentian was forced back. Lu Tong coldly snorted. If Governor Qin insists on doing this, don't blame Lu Tong for being impolite. Butler, you offended your superiors, injuring a governor. What punishment do you have? Qin Wentian asked again. The butler trembled. His head was almost buried in the ground. However, when he felt a killing intent boring down on him, He prostrated himself on the ground. Death penalty. Lu Tong's heart trembled. After that he saw a pair of terrifying eyes staring at him. In just an instant, Lu Tong felt his entire body sinking into a spatial dimension. The heavens and earth were sealed. He had no way to sense the radiance of the constellations. His heart violently pounded as he felt a chill in his heart. He was tricked. Lu Tong suddenly felt a sense of fear. Even if the rumors were exaggerated, Qin Wentian's attack shouldn't be so weak. Also, although he managed to hit Qin Wentian earlier, he didn't manage to do anything to him. This indicated that Qin Wentian might have intentionally allowed him to hit him, wanting to sentence him to death. In the spatial dimension, Qin Wentian stabbed out with his finger. In an instant, numerous swords of light manifested, directly piercing through Lu Tong. Lu Tong had no way to defend and was directly pierced through by the swords of light. His eyes were wide with anger as he stared at Qin Wentian, who appeared before him. "Vile thief, you harmed me." Lu Tong had a look of despair on his face, feeling somewhat unwilling to accept this. As a mid-stage vice-governor, he was actually killed on the spot by this new governor. With a thud, Lu Tong's body slumped onto the stage. His eyes were still open, as though he died with a grievance. Staring at the ice-cold body of Lu Tong, the hearts of everyone on the stage trembled violently. A mid-stage immortal emperor vice-governor was actually killed by this new governor just like that. How ruthless! Only now did they realize that this new governor wasn't some kind character. For a period of time, everyone felt a sense of danger. The three people who came that night earlier all turned pale. Everyone has already seen Lu Tong's crimes. He disobeyed this seat's orders and even injured this seat. His crimes are punishable by death. This seat killed him on the spot. Does anyone have any objections? Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the crowd as he calmly asked. How would anyone dare to say anything? All of them kept their mouths shut and lowered their heads, not daring to say anything. Since everyone has no objections, I will naturally report this matter to the palace lord and remove Lu Tong's name from the records. Qin Wentian inclined his head and glanced at the three immortal kings who were still standing in the air. The attendant in the lead instantly turned pale as he clasped his hands. Your subordinate will take my leave now. Qin Wentian flicked his sleeves as a powerful palm imprint blasted the three of them through the air, causing them to cough out a mouthful of blood as their internal organs trembled violently. However, they didn't dare to linger in the slightest as they fled miserably. The 30 newly appointed attendants, manage your subordinates well. Without my orders, all of you have to do things according to the rules. In the future, if there's anyone who dares to neglect their duties, they will be directly punished. For those who came today, record their names and send them to the butler. If they come, expel them immediately. From now on, they are no longer people of the governor's manor. Qin Wentian gave the order, and everyone listened quietly, not daring to breathe. As for Zhaoichuan and Zhong Zihua, the two vice-governors, they disobeyed the seat's orders and didn't reply for 3 months. One of their arms shall be chopped off and they shall be expelled from the governor's manor. Pass down my command, immediately issue a bounty for Zhaoichuan and Zhong Zihua. If they take the initiative to come to the governor's manor to confess their crimes within 3 months, they shall be punished according to their original crimes. If they don't come within the time limit, they shall be treated as traitors and I shall report this to the Liefire Emporian to capture them and kill them without mercy. Qin Wentian's voice was filled with sharpness and killing intent, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble violently. This time around he didn't merely target Governor Lu Tong. He wanted to capture all 3 vice-governors and expel them from the governor's manor. In addition, he wanted the other 2 vice-governors to take the initiative to confess their crimes and sever their arms. If not, they would be captured and killed without mercy. This was too ruthless. There was no room for negotiation at all. Right now, even if Zhaoichuan and Zhong Zihua wanted to return, they wouldn't be able to do so. Everyone secretly glanced at Qin Wentian's handsome countenance, yet all of them felt a chill in their hearts. Qin Wentian didn't come out for 3 months and shocked the world with a single feat, capturing all 3 vice-governors. Before this, who said that this new governor was weak and weak? Was the northern governor's manor going to undergo a huge change? The trusted aides of the 3 vice-governors all felt their hearts trembling, worried that Qin Wentian would find trouble with them in the future. This was especially so for those who had received benefits from the Jialan clan. All of them felt panic in their hearts, afraid that things would be exposed. Qin Wentian took a few steps forward. A majestic aura gushed forth from him, enveloping the hearts of everyone. I've received orders from the Liefire Empyrean to take up the position of the Northern Governor. In the past, I have no idea what happened here. Whatever you guys have done in the past, it has nothing to do with me and I won't pursue it. Even if you guys have committed great crimes, I will still pardon you. But from today onwards, if anyone dares to defy me or collude with outsiders, including Zhao Yichuan and Zhong Zihua, Lu Tong's ending will be a good example. Qin Wentian coldly spoke, his words causing everyone to feel a huge pressure weighing down on their hearts. Qin Wentian didn't pursue the past. This was giving them a chance to be absolutely loyal to him from now onwards. Many of the attendants here were trusted aides of Zhao Yichuan and Zhong Zihua in the past. Now that the situation had changed, all of them instantly felt that things were getting thorny. Go back. Qin Wentian waved his hand as he spoke. Yes, Governor. Everyone felt somewhat taken aback. There was actually no new vice-governor. However, they still felt as though they had been pardoned from a great crime, and all of them left with their tails between their legs. After they returned, the hearts of everyone in the governor's manor were filled with trepidation. There were no longer any signs of laziness like before. Many of them had to make a decision now. No matter who they supported, it would be extremely dangerous. If this was the governor's manor of the other regions, things might still be fine. But this was the northern governor's manor, and it was rumored that this new governor was an enemy of the Jialan clan. It was unknown how long he would be able to hold this position for. If they really followed in his footsteps and the situation changed in the future, they would definitely be in dire straits. After several days, Vice-Governor Zhong Zihua came back to plead guilty. The governor's manor was shaken and Zhong Zihua was brought before Qin Wentian. Zhong Zihua pays my respects to Lord Governor. Upon seeing Qin Wentian, Zhong Zihua bowed. Zhong Zihua, do you know your crimes? Qin Wentian's expression was cold. The evil emperor followed behind him, his jade-green eyes staring ahead. This subordinate knows his crimes and is willing to accept Lord Governor's punishment. Zhong Zihua bowed. It's just that this subordinate is bold enough to beg Lord Governor to give this subordinate a chance. Don't expel me. Humph! Qin Wentian snorted. In an instant, resplendent tree branches shot out, wrapping around one of Zhong Zihua's arms. The branches were as sharp as knives, piercing into Zhong Zihua's arm. Zhong Zihua gritted his teeth, enduring the pain and silently enduring it. Why did you come back? Are you still willing to stay here? Qin Wentian asked. Governor Qin, I know about the grudge between you and the Jialan clan. I've also heard what happened to the Jialan monarch. Honestly speaking, it's truly not a wise choice to follow you. After all, even if you can fight against the Jialan clan, you would still be in danger in the future. Zhong Zihua calmly spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with interest. He naturally understood that even if he could fight against the Jialan clan, it was unknown how long the Liefire Empyrean could still use him. However, Governor Qin's order is simply cutting off my path of retreat. If I carry the name of a traitor, there would be no place for me to stay in the vast territories controlled by the Liefire Palace. Even if I go to the Grand Governor, he would definitely support you. After all, everyone knows that you were planted by the Liefire Empyrean. I have no other choice. Zhong Zihua spoke. He then continued, the Jialan clan would definitely not dare to accept me. That would be giving the Liefire Empyrean an excuse. You still have another choice. Qin Wentian laughed. Naturally, within 3 months, you can assassinate Governor Qin or borrow the Jialan clan's hands. But I don't feel that this is a wise choice. Hence, it's better for you to admit your guilt. Zhong Zihua shook his head. As long as he could kill Qin Wentian within 3 months, Qin Wentian's order would naturally be meaningless. Chapter 1571. Qin Wentian stared at Zhong Zihua's eyes. After that, he smiled and retracted the attack on Zhong Zihua's arm. He didn't cripple Zhong Zihua's arm. He calmly smiled, I will temporarily keep your arm. Go back and await further orders. Many thanks, Governor. Zhong Zihua started as a look of shock appeared on his face. After that, He bowed and retreated. Qin Wentian stared at Zhong Zihua's departing back. With a wave of his hand, he isolated his immortal sense and turned his gaze to the little lion in the corner. What do you think of this? Qin Wentian asked. You suspect him? The evil emperor felt a little puzzled. From the sound of it, there doesn't seem to be any problems with what he said. This is indeed a more suitable choice. Indeed. However, he did lie. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. A demonic light flashed in the eyes of the evil emperor. He didn't ask anything more. Since Qin Wentian said that he lied, most probably, Qin Wentian would be wary of his existence. Several days later, the last vice-governor, Zhao Yichuan, also arrived. He directly appeared outside the governor's manor and cursed at Qin Wentian, telling Qin Wentian to scram out to see him. Hence, many figures gathered outside the governor's manor, including many of Zhao Yichuan's subordinates. Although there were 3 vice-governors in the governor's manor, it was clear that Zhao Yichuan was the leader. His cultivation base was the highest and he had the most experience. Outside the governor's manor, he stood in the air, radiating an extremely violent emperor might that bore down on this entire space, causing everyone to feel stifled. Qin Wentian, you despicable fellow. Just because this seat was outside and didn't return, you actually issued a warrant for my arrest, wanting me to come back and beg for forgiveness, cutting off one of my arms and expelling me from the governor's manor. How preposterous! Zhao Yichuan's anger towered up into the sky, his aura terrifying. Just a captive from the Lifire Palace, how dare you come to the governor's manor to act like a tyrant, killing my brother, Vice-Governor Lu Tong. I will definitely kill you. Commander Zhao seems very angry. The people of the governor's manor silently mused. Zhao Yichuan had always been a decisive person, but he was calm and intelligent. This didn't seem like the him of the past. Could it be that he was stimulated by Qin Wentian? Indeed, as a vice-governor, how would Zhao Yichuan, who was a lofty immortal emperor, still have the face to meet others in the future? Although immortal emperors weren't lofty characters in the supreme ancient immortal realms, they were still considered experts and would naturally have some pride. How could they endure such humiliation? Qin Wentian walked out from the governor's manor. He was clad in long robes, and when the people of the governor's manor saw him, they all bowed, not daring to show any disrespect. The scene of Qin Wentian killing Lu Tong was still fresh in their minds. Zhong Zihua. Zhao Yichuan glanced at the person behind Qin Wentian as he coldly spoke. Zhong Zihua, you are actually wagging your tail and begging for mercy? No wonder your arm is still intact. Seems like you are here to beg for mercy, right? Are you going to ignore the death of brother Lu Tong just like that? Commander Zhao, don't talk nonsense. If you admit your guilt now, Governor Qin might spare you. Zhong Zihua spoke. Just this captive? Zhao Yichuan pointed at Qin Wentian and laughed. A captive who needs to rely on a woman to save his life actually came here to take on the governor's position? Today, I shall prove to the palace lord that there are times when his judgment isn't good. Qin Wentian, I Zhao Yichuan challenge you to a duel. Do you dare to accept? Qin Wentian glanced over. His gaze was incomparably cold. A pair of demonic eyes of truth appeared, and Zhao Yichuan only felt the world changing as he was trapped within a dimension created by the eye technique. With a roar of rage, boundless tyrannical might radiated from him. His long hair was as sharp as golden swords as thunder rumbled. Golden lightning flashed. His attacks were tyrannical to the extreme, wanting to shatter the dimension created by the eye technique. Governor Qin, this Zhao Yichuan's strength is extraordinary. I will act together with Governor to deal with him. Zhong Zihua took a step forward, directly appearing behind Qin Wentian. He stretched out his white fingers as Emperor light radiated from him. His right hand directly blasted out a palm imprint towards Zhao Yichuan while his left hand shot out a formless qi current. Qin Wentian's countenance abruptly flashed with coldness. He turned his head and glanced at Zhong Zihua. Resplendent rays of light gushed forth from his body, transforming into a terrifying sword of light that shot towards Zhong Zihua. At the same time, his powerful law energy circulated around him. However, that formless qi current actually ignored the seal of the sword of light and directly pierced through the spatial barrier, landing on Qin Wentian's body. Under Qin Wentian's incomparably powerful defense, it was like a formless needle boring into Qin Wentian's body. Governor, what are you doing? Zhong Zihua roared as he retreated after being attacked by Qin Wentian. His countenance drastically changed, and at the same time, Qin Wentian only felt a piercing pain from his soul. That formless energy was like countless soul-piercing needles, frenziedly piercing into his soul, causing his body to tremble as he almost lost all combat strength. Boom! On the other side, Zhao Yichuan directly broke through the space created by his eye technique. Emperor's might descended from the sky. At this moment he was no longer as enraged as before. Instead, he was extremely calm, exuding a sense of majesty. He lifted his hand, and in an instant, golden lightning laws were born in the air, transforming into countless golden lightning blades that enveloped this space and pierced towards Qin Wentian's body. Evidently, Zhao Yichuan and Zhong Zihua had long since planned this. They had joined forces, all for the sake of killing Qin Wentian with a single strike. Qin Wentian's soul was invaded. Those terrifying soul-piercing needles expanded unceasingly, wanting to destroy his soul. A formless soul fluctuation bloomed as Qin Wentian's soul directly disintegrated. His body stiffened as the terrifying golden lightning blades directly pierced into Qin Wentian's body. In an instant, fresh blood flowed everywhere. A golden spear that could pierce through the heavens and earth appeared in Zhao Yichuan's hand. He directly pierced towards Qin Wentian's head. The hearts of many below trembled violently. The new governor who killed Lu Tong was killed just like that? As expected, the two vice-governors, Zhao Yichuan and Zhong Zihua, were not simple characters. Although they didn't sense Zhong Zihua's attack, since Qin Wentian suddenly attacked him, Zhong Zihua must have done something to Qin Wentian. The evil emperor who was behind him also acted. His demonic eyes flashed with a terrifying green light, shooting straight into Zhong Zihua's mind. With a roar of rage, he transformed into an incomparably ferocious giant lion, his sharp claws slashing out towards Zhong Zihua. Zhong Zihua's left hand waved out once more as a formless shockwave blasted out, piercing through the evil emperor's sharp claws, drilling into his soul. A thunderous sound rang out as Zhong Zihua's body was flung through the air. In an instant, the golden spear in Zhao Yichuan's hand was already about to pierce into Qin Wentian's head, taking his life. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's body suddenly moved. A powerful spatial law energy fluctuated as his body transformed into a mirage, shifting his position slightly. The terrifying sharp blade directly whistled out from his side, causing the void to tremble violently. With another glance, Zhao Yichuan was once again trapped in the space created by the eye technique. That pair of eyes was so terrifying, countless rays of light pierced into his eyes. Zhao Yichuan screamed in agony as he closed his eyes. Fresh blood flowed out from his eyes as they were burned by the light bit by bit. His screams of agony caused those who heard it to tremble uncontrollably. Bang! Zhao Yichuan's head disappeared under the illumination of the light, after which, his body also transformed into ashes, directly dying. Qin Wentian abruptly turned his gaze towards Zhong Zihua. Zhong Zihua had an expression of extreme terror on his face. How could this be possible? The soul-slaying needle, in addition to Zhao Yichuan, actually failed to kill Qin Wentian? The soul-slaying needle was an extremely powerful treasure. Even the evil emperor, a peak-stage demon king, was currently struggling in agony. Qin Wentian was only at the initial stage of the immortal king realm. Just the soul-slaying needle alone should have been enough to destroy his soul. In addition to Zhao Yichuan's strength, it was impossible for him to fail. However, he had failed. Because of this, he had to pay an extremely painful price. When the countless swords of light penetrated through his body, he was crippled, but his life wasn't taken. Zhong Zihua was now a cripple as he slammed onto the ground. His entire body was dyed red with fresh blood as he stared at Qin Wentian, who was descending from the skies. Although I already knew that you had ill intentions and was on guard against you, I didn't expect that I would still be ambushed. What was that thing? Qin Wentian stared at Zhong Zihua as he asked. At this moment, although Qin Wentian's aura was terrifying, if one paid close attention, they would be able to sense that his aura was much weaker compared to before. Clearly, he was greatly affected. His soul was injured. Earlier, he used the undying scripture to forcefully separate his soul, shattering the portion of his soul that was pierced by the soul-slaying needle, allowing him to instantly recover his combat prowess. Soul-slaying needle. The evil emperor spoke as his large eyes flashed with a deep sense of dread. Luckily, it's not the highest grade soul-slaying needles. If not, we would have died without a doubt. However, even a soul-slaying needle of this grade is terrifyingly expensive. Let's not talk about a vice-governor. Even an ordinary governor would have to go bankrupt if they wanted to take it out. So terrifying? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. But when he thought back to that feeling earlier, he nodded silently. Even for peak-stage immortal kings, if they encountered such a thing, in addition to Zhao Yichuan's killing intent, they would definitely die for sure. Such a thing was simply too terrifying. One could very well imagine its value. Since Zhong Zihua might not be able to take out such a thing, this meant that it must have been given to him by someone else. Not only for him, but for the evil emperor as well. From this, one could see that the evil emperor was well prepared. I've already crippled him. I'll leave him to you. Qin Wentian spoke to the evil emperor. Right. The evil emperor nodded. Luckily, he was also proficient in soul energy. If not, it would be even more difficult for him to recover. He walked over, his demonic eyes staring at Zhong Zihua as he entered Zhong Zihua's sea of consciousness. Qin Wentian coldly stared at him. The encounter today caused him to feel a chill in his heart. He had just established his might not too long ago, and was only dealing with his subordinates. Yet, he was already in such a predicament. From this, one could very well imagine how dangerous the situation was. The supreme ancient immortal realms were many times more dangerous compared to the azure mystic immortal realms. Since a treasure like the soul-slaying needle could be taken out here, it meant that there would be other treasures here as well. Even if he was facing someone weaker than him, he still had to be wary. The hearts of the people in the surroundings trembled. This battle, the situation suddenly changed, causing them to personally experience how terrifying this battle was. This also made them realize once again that this new commander was very terrifying. Chapter 1572. In the northern governor's manor of Fire City, the 3 vice-governors were all killed. The Grand Governor of Fire City personally sent people over to investigate. But after learning of the results, they didn't say anything and directly left. Lu Tong acted against Qin Wentian, injuring Qin Wentian. Zhao Yichuan and Zhong Zihua even joined hands to kill their superior. Qin Wentian killing them was completely within the rules, and no one could say anything. The hearts of the people below were all filled with trepidation. Everyone in the governor's manor became extremely cautious. No one dared to provoke Qin Wentian's prestige anymore. After several days, Qin Wentian appointed 3 vice-governors. All of them were bandits from the Thousand Feathers Palace. Other than the evil emperor, he sent all the bandits from the Thousand Feathers Palace to manage the governor's manor. Although Qin Wentian temporarily didn't plan to expand his territory, at the very least, he wanted to gain complete control over the governor's manor. If things were like in the past, no one would reply to his command. None of the 3 vice-governors appeared. How could he do things? Naturally, Qin Wentian temporarily didn't plan to do anything. Although the incident that day was more shocking than dangerous with his undying body, even if his body was pierced through, he could still recover very quickly. But this could also be considered a lesson to Qin Wentian. After the evil emperor controlled Zhong Zihua, although he had no way to know that the Jialong clan was behind this, Zhong Zihua said that a mysterious person came looking for him and gave him the soul-slaying needle, telling him to join forces with Zhao Yichuan. Let alone Qin Wentian. Even Zhong Zihua himself guessed that the mysterious person was someone from the Jialong clan. Not only so, according to what Zhong Zihua said, the 3 vice-governors and many attendants under them had all received bribes from different powers. Everyone had a tacit understanding. They clearly knew what was going on, but no one said anything. After all, other than the Fire Palace giving out their cultivation resources once every 10 years, the governor's manor could only reward them based on the amount of tributes they received. But how could the northern governor's manor receive so many tributes? There was no need to hope for any rewards. The people in this governor's manor were all extremely poor. Qin Wentian told the evil emperor to look for the butler while he went out to investigate. After that, he looked through the dossiers and noted down all the businesses in the northern city regions that the Jialong clan might have a hand in. In the end, he discovered to his shock that the Jialong clan was in control of all the major businesses in the northern city regions. For those large auction houses, divine weapon hall and medicinal pill pavilions, Their shadows could be seen in all of them. In fact, for some of the mid-sized powers, there might even be people from the Jalon clan controlling them from the shadows. Before the Livefire Empyrean became the Livefire Empyrean, the Jalon clan had already taken root in Livefire City. There were many major clans in the northern city regions, and the Jalon clan was publicly recognized as the #1 clan. All the major clans had deep connections with them. For example, many of the madams of the clan lords all originated from the Jalon clan. Not only did the Jalon clan have deep roots, they even extended their influence outwards, even reaching the Realm Lord's side. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful they were. This was why they were able to contend against the Livefire Empyrean. Qin Wentian couldn't help but to sigh. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, as long as you controlled enough resources, you would be able to transform it into a terrifying power. For example, with a single command from the Jalon clan, many immortal emperors could go over to pay respects to them. This was even more attractive compared to the governor's manor. Because the Jalon clan was wealthy enough, they could provide enough cultivation resources for those unaffiliated immortal emperors to maintain their cultivation. They could also provide powerful emperor-ranked weapons and precious emperor-ranked pills. The once-a-decade tribute date finally arrived. The entire Livefire City was bustling with activity. Naturally, the ones who were the busiest were still the city lord manors of the various regions. To the people of Livefire City, this was merely an additional matter of paying tributes. Many powers naturally took the initiative to do so. However, the city lord's mansion in the northern city district had very few forces that took the initiative to pay tribute. It was almost deserted. From this, it could be seen how bad the prestige of the city lord's mansion in the northern city district was. No forces cared about it at all. Of course, this was also because the city lord's mansion in the northern city district had not provided much protection to the forces in the past 10 years. Many conflicts were settled by them themselves. Today, the 3 vice-governors of the governor's manor took the initiative to collect tributes. However, things weren't so smooth. Some of the smaller powers were unwilling to pay tributes while some of the major powers weren't so cooperative. Vice-Governor Su Li had a mid-stage immortal king cultivation base. He was none other than the person who intercepted Qin Wentian and allowed him to pass. When he was collecting tributes from the ancient river auction house, he encountered a major incident. An expert who obtained a treasure from the auction house was killed by someone. His interspatial ring and treasure were all snatched away. Livefire City absolutely forbade private killings. If there were any conflicts that couldn't be resolved, there would be special battlegrounds for that. Su Li stared at the corpse on the ground as his expression grew extremely unsightly. The people from the ancient river auction house stood in front of him. The person in the lead was an old man. He spoke, Vice-Governor Su. It's not that my auction house doesn't want to cooperate. It's just that during these years, many major and minor incidents have occurred in my auction house. Now there's even such a serious case of murder happening outside my auction house. Which matter has the governor's manor helped me to resolve? Now that it's time to pay tributes, the governor's manor actually became so proactive? This doesn't seem right. That's right. As the saying goes, there's no reward for nothing. Even if the Livefire Empyrean was here, I'm sure he would understand. Someone clasped his hands to the air, expressing his respect to the Livefire Empyrean. The ancient river auction house is one of the major auction houses in Livefire City. They are extremely powerful and have as many experts as the clouds. To think that the auctioneer would actually die outside. Also, it just so happened that we're here to collect tributes. This? Su Li's eyes flashed with coldness. As a bandit, what has he not seen before? Such an obvious trick was clearly meant to target the governor's manor. Vice-Governor Su, what do you mean by that? That old man's expression instantly turned heavy. He coldly spoke, my ancient river auction house has already existed for many years. Would we destroy our own reputation? As for Vice-Governor Su, you didn't even bother to investigate this matter and are still busy collecting tributes, suspecting our auction house. Isn't this a little too ridiculous? Actually, to the northern city regions, whether the governor's manor exists or not isn't that important. It's basically useless. What do we need them for? They even have to pay tributes once every 10 years. How ridiculous. Yeah, in any case, my side doesn't plan to pay tributes anymore. Unless there's a day when the governor's manor can truly bring out the capabilities of the governor's manor. Vice Governor Su, this old man isn't the one who said this. Everyone here has their own opinions. The old man from the ancient river auction house coldly spoke. Su Li swept his gaze over everyone. So many major powers appeared together, and their lineup was definitely stronger than theirs. If they couldn't handle this matter, they could only report this up to the Li-Fire Empyrean. Even if the Li-Fire Empyrean interfered, it would still be because they didn't do their job well. Also, the words of these people weren't wrong. His governor's manor truly didn't do anything. Fine, I temporarily won't collect tributes today. But for the death of this person, my governor's manor will naturally investigate this. Su Li coldly spoke. Since this is the case, many thanks for Vice Governor Su's understanding. The old man clasped his hands. Su Li flicked his sleeves and departed. Qin Wentian had long guessed that this would happen. Hence, he told him that if he couldn't collect any tributes, he wouldn't do so. He had to avoid any conflict. The Jialong clan had been watching them in the dark. They were worried that they wouldn't have a chance to deal with them. Not only for Su Li, the other two governors also encountered a similar situation. They didn't receive much tributes. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. The amount of tributes the northern governor's manor received was pitifully little. Qin Wentian brought these tributes with him and came to the Li-Fire Palace. No matter how much they received, he would have to hand them to the Li-Fire Empyrean first. In a courtyard of the Li-Fire Palace, a few figures could be seen. There were 4 males and 1 female. These 5 were none other than the current 5 governors of Li-Fire City. The central governor Xia Ho exuded a calm might. The eastern governor Lin Ba had a tall and sturdy build. He had a long beard and a square face. His entire person exuded an imposing aura. The southern governor Beauty Xiao was extremely beautiful and charming. Also, she called herself a beauty and was extremely narcissistic. Hence, everyone referred to her as Beauty Xiao. The western governor Yin Xiu had a face as fair as a scholar. His complexion was overly pale, causing people to feel that he had overindulged in debauchery, exuding a demonic aura. The northern governor Qin Wentian. At this moment, Lin Ba and Beauty Xiao were surveying Qin Wentian. Lin Ba had an expression of interest on his face while Beauty Xiao had a smile on her face. Her eyes were filled with charm, capable of seducing the souls of people. I didn't expect Governor Qin to be so handsome. No wonder the daughter of the Night Empyrean didn't mind risking her life for Governor Qin. Beauty Xiao giggled, staring at Qin Wentian. Beauty Xiao, can you be more handsome than me? Yin Xiu seemed to be somewhat unconvinced. He kept staring at Beauty Xiao. Beauty Xiao was clad in an extremely sexy dress that accentuated her figure. That ample bosom of hers caused Yin Xiu to involuntarily stretch his hand out to give it a try. All the governors knew that Yin Xiu had been drooling over Beauty Xiao for a very long time. How can a pretty boy like you compare to Governor Qin? Beauty Xiao unrestrainedly mocked. After that, she walked towards Qin Wentian, exuding an alluring fragrance. Her entire person seemed to want to stick close to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian involuntarily took a step back, speechless in his heart. Xia Ho and Lin Ba could still be considered normal, but this Beauty Xiao and Yin Xiu didn't seem ordinary at all. To think that they were actually governors as well. Governor Qin, tell me, am I more beautiful or is Yi Qin Yu more beautiful? Beauty Xiao winked at Qin Wentian. From Qin Wentian's angle, he could even see places he shouldn't be looking at. This Beauty Xiao's dressing style was much more daring compared to Yi Qinyu. She was clearly trying to seduce him. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Governor Xiao, please don't joke around with me. Beauty Xiao, I'm such a handsome man, yet you are so concerned about a trash who hides under the skirt of a woman? Isn't your eyesight a little too bad? Yin Xiu sinisterly spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness as he stared at Yin Xiu. However, Yin Xiu didn't care about his gaze at all. He was staring at Beauty Xiao, not concealing the lust in his eyes at all as an evil aura radiated from him. Enough. The central governor Xia Ho coldly spoke. He stared at Qin Wentian. Governor Qin, I heard that you killed the 3 vice governors within 3 months of entering the governor's manor? 3 vice-governors plotted to kill me. I naturally have to get rid of them. Qin Wentian nodded. Humph, killing people the moment you entered the governor's manor. Can't you make good use of them? Do you think it's so easy to recruit 3 immortal emperors? I'm sure the tribute collection this time around wasn't easy for you, right? Xiahou coldly spoke. His tone was filled with a lecturing tone. Among the 5 governors, he was the most experienced and was also the strongest. Qin Wentian was somewhat unhappy. They were all governors and the 5 of them could be considered to be of the same rank. However, the governors here didn't seem to care about him at all. Chapter 1573. Behind the Livefire Empyrean, there were also 2 serving girls. Both of them had extraordinary auras and were at the immortal emperor realm. They were also extremely beautiful, and were the palace lord's personal maids. Given the Livefire Empyrean's authority, he naturally knew how to enjoy life. How could he lack beauties by his side? Not only were they beautiful, they had to be powerful enough as well. If not, they wouldn't be able to stay by his side forever. The Livefire Empyrean stared at Qin Wentian. However, Zhuge Xiong, who was at the side, spoke. What if you don't accomplish what you said 100 years ago? The Livefire Empyrean met with everyone and after chatting for a while, he departed. Given his status, there was naturally no need for him to stay here for too long. It was already sufficient for him to meet with everyone. The 2 serving girls returned 10% of the tributes to everyone. Qin Wentian also didn't miss out on his share. Qin Wentian also didn't reject it. There's no need. I still have to return to reorganize the governor's manor. Qin Wentian smiled as he rejected. The Livefire Empyrean nodded. It's time for the tributes again. This time around I will have to trouble everyone. Okay, the 2 of you collect the tributes and do a count. After that, take out 10% of it and give it to the governors. The Livefire Empyrean spoke to the 2 serving girls beside him. Enough. A calm voice rang out. Everyone instantly turned and stared in the air. After that, they saw several figures walking over. The person in the lead was none other than the Livefire Empyrean. Beside him, there was a middle-aged man with a calm and peaceful aura. He was dressed in simple robes, but he gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Since Governor Zhuge has spoken, I will wait and see then. The Livefire Empyrean laughed. Although Qin Wentian didn't have any accomplishments after he assumed the position, he killed the 3 vice-governors. This caused the Livefire Empyrean to be extremely satisfied. He hoped that Qin Wentian was like this. Only then would he be able to help him eradicate some of the Jialan clan's strength. The eyes of the other governors flashed. The Livefire Empyrean was truly polite to Qin Wentian. However, when they thought of the Livefire Empyrean's intentions, everyone could understand. After all, everyone knew the reason why the Livefire Empyrean placed Qin Wentian in that position. It wasn't because of the tributes but because of the Jialan clan. I'm at your disposal, Palace Master. Qin Wentian bowed. Humph. Xiahou glanced coldly at Qin Wentian, snorted and then left. If Commander Shao is interested, you can naturally come at any time. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to receive you well. In that case, if I have the chance, can I go to the northern governor's manor to look for you? Beauty Shao seemed to have long known that Qin Wentian would reject. She giggled. In truth, this was indeed the case. As time flowed by, everyone gradually forgot about how the newly appointed governor killed 3 vice-governors in just 3 months. It was as though that time, the newly appointed governor was frightened by the soul-slaying needles and didn't dare to do anything else. However, the tributes would definitely be the catalyst. Hence, if Qin Wentian was smart, he would understand what he should do in the future. If not, if he had no value, why would the Livefire Empyrean keep the people from the Thousand Feathers Palace around? Staring at Zhuge Xiong's eyes filled with wisdom, Qin Wentian nodded. Okay. As for the formations he was most proficient in, they were all ceiling-type formations. As long as one was trapped within his formations, even those with a cultivation base higher than him would die. For a period of time, many major and minor powers in Livefire City treated him as an esteemed guest. Xiahou frowned as he coldly spoke. The matter of tributes concerns the Livefire Empyrean and even the Realm Lord. If your northern city regions were to drag the Realm Lord down, would the Realm Lord view this? He would only think that the governors of my Lifefire city didn't do their job well. Qin Wentian, in the future, use your brain more when you do things. Don't only know how to kill bandits and become a prisoner. Although Qin Wentian made a promise to the Lifefire Empyrean for 100 years, after he returned to the northern governor's manor, he didn't do anything. He only entered his cultivation platform and entered closed-door seclusion. The Lifefire Empyrean nodded. The northern city regions always pay the least tributes every time. I naturally understand this. You just went there and you still have to reorganize your subordinates. Yet, the 3 vice-governors actually dared to assassinate you. How audacious. Speaking of which, it should be you who wronged the Lifefire Empyrean by placing you in that position. It was one thing for him to become a commander, but as soon as he took office, he killed all 3 deputy commanders. It could be said that he was eradicating dissidents. Moreover, he killed them openly. The crimes that the 3 deputy commanders committed were punishable by death. There's no need for Governor Xiahou to worry. Qin Wentian smiled as he replied. He didn't fall out with the other party, calmly replying. However, his meaning was clear. Oh! An expression of interest appeared on the Lifefire Empyrean's face. He smiled. Since you are so confident, let this seat ask you. How long do you want? Naturally, Qin Wentian could also think of this. After all, he was a bandit and the leader of the bandits, Yi Qinyu, was still a prisoner while he became a governor. Right now, the governor's manor could be said to be under Qin Wentian's control. Even if there were people with disloyal intentions, at the very least on the surface Qin Wentian was in absolute control of the governor's manor. However, the northern governor's manor was still so low profile that many people's anticipation gradually faded away. We pay our respects to the palace lord. We pay our respects to the grand governor. The various governors bowed. As for the 2 serving girls, they would maintain sufficient respect. But after all, they didn't have any status, there was no need for them to pay their respects. Reporting to the palace lord, Qin Wentian is guilty. Qin Wentian spoke honestly. The Lifefire Empyrean glanced at him. What crime? It's fine as long as you personally receive them. Beauty Xiao leaned against Qin Wentian's arm. Qin Wentian retreated slightly. After that, Beauty Xiao giggled as she soared through the air. Her long skirt fluttered in the wind, revealing her fair legs that were extremely alluring. All the tributes collected by the various governors' manors had to be recorded and handed over to the governor's manor. Usually speaking, the various governors' manors wouldn't have the guts to embezzle the tributes. If they did, the punishment would be death. They would definitely not tolerate such a thing. If not, with so many subordinates, wouldn't it be too bad if all of them embezzled the realm lord's wealth? In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. This time around, the northern governor's manor received the same amount of tributes as before. When he went to the Lifefire Palace, Qin Wentian naturally couldn't avoid being mocked and ridiculed. Beauty Xiao was still trying to seduce him. Governor Xiahou still didn't like him. However, Qin Wentian didn't seem to care about all of this. It was like he was the same as the other governors before him. He only cared about self-preservation and was so low profile that it caused everyone to forget about his existence. The Jialong clan also didn't seem to have a chance to make things difficult for him. They couldn't possibly barge into the governor's manor to assassinate him, right? Hence, it was actually strange that the various governors would have high regard for him, Qin Wentian. The governor's manor didn't make any movements. In Lifefire City, there was an inconspicuous matter. An extremely powerful character appeared. Qin Wentian's gaze instantly turned cold. Although he was a governor, his status was extremely awkward. Hence, he wanted to keep a low profile and not cause trouble. However, he wasn't afraid of trouble. This Xiahou actually dared to use his status as an old governor to poke at his sore spot. This could be said to be humiliating him. It's my duty to do things for the palace lord. Governor Xiahou bowed. 100 years to Qin Wentian was very long. He didn't wish to use so much time, but he had to make it sound as long as possible. But to the Lifefire Empyrean, 100 years wasn't long at all. It was merely 10 tributes. Reaching his current cultivation level, he has already experienced too many 100 years. How dare you? Xiahou berated. A violent might gushed forth from him. Qin Wentian bluntly stared back at him. Beauty Zhao's eyes flashed with a bright light when she saw this scene. Qin Wentian truly had a personality. She liked this type of man. He was much better compared to that pretty boy Yin Xiu. Because of the reorganization of the governor's manor, we delayed our control over the northern city regions. Many powers are unwilling to pay tributes. This time around, the amount of tributes collected by the northern city regions is very little. This subordinate is in the wrong. This subordinate doesn't dare to ask for the 10% of the tributes. If the palace lord wants to punish me, I will definitely not complain. Qin Wentian humbly spoke. Lin Ba glanced at Qin Wentian before smiling and nodding as he departed. At the end, Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he sped away. He turned his head and stared in a certain direction. That was the direction where the live fire jail was located. He didn't dare to forget that there were still people inside waiting for him to save them. This was a formations grandmaster with extremely high attainments in the Tao of formations. Although his cultivation base was only at the initial stage of the immortal emperor realm, the formations he casually inscribed could deal with mid-stage immortal emperors. It was said that this grandmaster was also proficient in weaponsmithing. That dark and damp place, she would definitely feel extremely uncomfortable, right? Although she had a smile on her face that day, and was as charming as ever, Qin Wentian knew how terrible her situation was. Beauty Xiao, wait for me. Yin Qiu directly chased after her. Governor Qin, do you want to come to my place for a chat? Beauty Xiao winked at Qin Wentian, her arms almost touching him. However, everyone already knew of Beauty Xiao's character, and didn't find it strange at all. Only Yin Qiu was extremely unhappy. He and Beauty Xiao could be considered kindred spirits and had always been drooling over Beauty Xiao's beauty. In the past, when they collected the tributes, many people directly didn't pay. After that, the governor's manor didn't do anything. Right now, there were still some periods where, other than the governor's manor settling some minor matters, they basically didn't do anything at all. This gave the various major powers a reason to refuse to pay tributes again. Many thanks for Palace Lord's understanding. I hope Palace Lord can give this subordinate some time. This subordinate guarantees that I will definitely make the northern city region's tributes return to normal. Qin Wentian spoke. This was what he wanted to say. He needed time. The Jialong clan was a hegemonic power. If he wanted to fight against them, regardless of himself or his subordinates, they were all too weak. 100 years. This subordinate guarantees that none of the major powers in the northern city regions would dare to pay less than the slightest amount of tribute. Qin Wentian bowed. He also didn't know how long he would need, but 100 years was a period of time he wanted to fight for. In that case, at the very least, the live fire Empyrean wouldn't touch him or Yi Qinyu during this 100 years. As for the matter of the tributes, the palace lord and grand governor will naturally be in charge. If someone wants to blame someone, it isn't up to you, Governor Xiaohou. You better mind your own business. You don't have the qualifications to criticize me. Qin Wentian coldly replied, not giving any face to Xiaohou at all. The palace lord regards you highly. How would he bear to punish you? However, you are my subordinate. Since you dared to guarantee to the palace lord, if you fail to do so 100 years later, I will punish Yi Qinyu. But if you succeed, I will plead for mercy on behalf of Yi Qinyu. What do you think? Zhuge Xiong laughed. This man was none other than the Grand Governor of Lifire City, Zhuge Xiong. He was an extremely powerful character with a cultivation base at the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm. He was the trusted aide of the Lifire Empyrean, and the 5 governors were all his direct subordinates. Chapter 1574. In the central city regions of Lifire City, the region that Governor Xiaohou was in charge of, there was an independent courtyard in the central city region. Recently, there would often be people coming here to pay a visit, because that formation grandmaster was temporarily staying here. At this moment, at the entrance of the courtyard, many people came here, requesting to see the formation grandmaster. However, all of them were stopped by a serving girl. Although this serving girl's cultivation base wasn't high, only at the Immortal King realm, no one dared to be disrespectful to her. In addition, her looks were extremely outstanding, and she exuded a sense of experience. Fairy, we do have an important matter to seek an audience with the Grandmaster. The people outside the courtyard clasped their hands to the serving girl. Grandmaster D is currently focused on researching formations and doesn't have much time. Everyone, please come again another day. The serving girl clasped her hands to everyone. I wish to invite the Grandmaster to inscribe a grand formation for me. I will definitely not mistreat the Grandmaster. Fairy, please pass the message to him. Someone insisted. Do you all think that the Grandmaster lacks cultivation resources? The serving girl laughed, causing everyone to be speechless. Indeed, a powerful formation Grandmaster wouldn't lack cultivation resources. Also, before this Grandmaster had already proven his attainments in the Tao of formations in Lifire City. Seems like during these days the reason why he acted was because he wanted to become famous. Only then would he be able to gain more attention, and at the same time, he would be able to earn more cultivation resources. Right now, this Grandmaster was already famous. In the future, he naturally wouldn't lack cultivation resources. What arrogant airs! At this moment, a person coldly snorted. The gazes of everyone turned over as they felt bewildered. There was actually someone here to create trouble? Offending a powerful formation Grandmaster wasn't a wise thing to do. It's not that Grandmaster D is arrogant. It's just that he is indeed cultivating. If you want to say this, I have nothing to say. The serving girl smiled and shook her head. She could still maintain her composure even when facing an immortal emperor. Humph, that person snorted coldly. Although this formation Grandmaster is strong, he is merely an initial stage immortal emperor Grandmaster. The strength of a single person is limited, and there are many aristocratic clans that specialize in formations in Lifire City. When everyone heard this, they looked at the newcomer curiously, revealing a look of interest. Senior, what do you want to say? That serving girl was still as polite as ever. I come from the Yin clan. That person faintly spoke. His calm tone didn't conceal his arrogance at all. The eyes of the experts in the surroundings flashed before smiles appeared on their faces as they clasped their hands together. So it's the Yin clan, we apologize for our rudeness. Many people walked up to talk to him, but he only nodded lightly, his face full of pride. The Yin clan was an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations in Lifire City. There were many powerful formation experts in this clan, and they had a transcendent status in Lifire City. Many of the constructions and formations in Lifire City were inscribed by them. When the major powers wanted to inscribe formations, they would respectfully pay a visit to them and pay a high price to hire them. Right now, someone from the Yin clan appeared here. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror. This undoubtedly proved how powerful Grandmaster D's formations were. He actually managed to attract the attention of the Yin clan. And then, the serving girl smiled. My Yin clan is preparing to gather some independent formation grandmasters in the central regions of Lifire City to discuss the Tao of formations. At that time, my Yin clan will take out some rewards and even invite the most outstanding ones among these independent formation grandmasters to become guest elders of my Yin clan. Hence, I intentionally came here to invite Grandmaster Qin to participate. Who would have thought that I wouldn't even be able to enter the door? That person's tone was filled with arrogance, causing the eyes of many to gleam with a strange light. Although they said they wanted to discuss the Tao of formations, in truth it was a competition in the dark. In addition, the Yin clan invited independent formation grandmasters, and even said that they would take out rewards to invite the most outstanding ones to become guest elders of the Yin clan. This was a lofty attitude, wanting to use this to raise the status of the Yin clan, making it seem as though they were above these independent formation grandmasters. The Yin clan had always felt that they were an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations. In truth, they did have such capabilities. In that case, there was no need to explain why they did this. They wanted to let everyone see that their Yin clan was far from what those formation grandmasters outside could compare to. They were an aristocrat clan with deep foundations. Grandmaster D wouldn't do such a senseless thing. The serving girl didn't ask and directly replied with a smile. Everyone here was intelligent. How could they not understand the meaning of the other party's words? The eyes of that person from the Yin clan flashed with sharpness. Impudent. Do you know who the person who invited you is? You are just a little lass, yet you dare to reject him directly? You call this a senseless thing? Senior, please calm your anger. The serving girl wasn't frightened. She merely bowed and spoke humbly. I understand the personality of my Grandmaster. To him this is truly senseless. In that case, you can go and ask this Grandmaster of your clan. I want to hear for myself how senseless this is exactly. The person from the Yen clan felt that his pride was being trampled on. A newly established formation Grandmaster actually dared to be so arrogant? He didn't even have their Yen clan in his eyes. Senior, why must you make things difficult for me? The serving girl bitterly smiled. Boom! That expert from the Yen clan stepped out. His aura was tyrannical, causing the serving girl to groan in pain. Impudent! At this moment a cold voice rang out from the courtyard. After that expert from the Yen clan inclined his head and stared in. Grandmaster D, what do you think of my invitation? That expert from the Yen clan directly asked. I'm not interested. Someone from the Yen clan bullied my serving girl. 3 days later, I will directly head to the Yen clan to seek guidance from them in the Tao of Formations. A voice rang out, causing the eyes of many to gleam with sharpness as their hearts involuntarily trembled. This Grandmaster D not only rejected the Yen clan, he even wanted to challenge the Yen clan, an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations. He actually wanted to seek guidance from them? Too arrogant. The Yen clan invited unaffiliated formation grandmasters to a gathering, wanting to show their arrogance. However, this Grandmaster D directly ignored them and chose to pay a visit instead. Seems like this Grandmaster D was, as the rumors said, an extremely arrogant person. However, he did have the qualifications to be arrogant. However, wasn't it a little too rash for him to directly pay a visit to the Yen clan? The expression of that expert from the Yen clan instantly turned unsightly. In truth, his Yen clan had done this before. Many unaffiliated formation grandmasters were willing to participate because their performance was outstanding. If they could become a guest elder of the Yen clan, they would undoubtedly gain the recognition of the aristocrat clan. Others wouldn't suspect that their proficiency in formations was just bragging. In addition, the identity of a guest elder of the Yen clan would be able to raise their status by a lot. This was a win-win situation for the Yen clan. But this person before him not only didn't give them face, he even spoke such arrogant words. You overestimate yourself. You aren't qualified yet. That expert from the Yen clan coldly spoke. Go back and report. 3 days later ID will head there. At that time ID will welcome everyone from Lifefire City to come and watch. Scram. That voice impolitely chased the guest away. Gotcha. That expert from the Yen clan clenched his fists tightly, causing a crisp sound to ring out. His face turned ashen. He flicked his sleeves and coldly spoke. Since you want to court humiliation, I'll wait for you then. After speaking, he directly flicked his sleeves and departed. Grandmaster D, are you really going to pay a visit to the Yen clan 3 days later? Someone asked. I have something to discuss with Grandmaster D. Can we meet? Everyone, please leave first. 3 days later I'll see you all at the Yen clan. A calm voice rang out from within. Everyone knew that they wouldn't have a chance to see this formation Grandmaster, a person who even dared to provoke the Yen clan. He naturally wouldn't go back on his words. Hence, all of them respectively departed. After everyone left, the serving girl returned to the courtyard. In there, a black-robed figure with a mask sat cross-legged. Sir, do you really want to go? The serving girl asked. The black-robed figure nodded. The Yen clan is an aristocrat clan that specializes in formations. If Sir can defeat some of the grandmasters of the Yen clan, your fame would surely soar. At that time there would be even more major powers inviting you to join them. The serving girl smiled sweetly, appearing even more beautiful. But what made her feel a little disappointed was that this mysterious expert who had saved her life before, from the start to the end, had no interest in her beauty at all. In fact, he had never seriously observed her countenance. Maybe if it wasn't for the fact that he needed someone to help him with some matters, he wouldn't even allow her to follow him. Sometimes she would wonder what sort of person he was exactly. Under that mask, what sort of countenance was there? She was extremely curious. A piece of news rapidly circulated through Lifefire City. Recently, the famous formation Grandmaster D would be visiting the Yen clan 3 days later. In addition, he wasn't there to pay a visit. He was there to issue a challenge. For a period of time, many major powers cast their gazes over, feeling that this was extremely interesting. The Yin clan has been established in Lifefire City for many years, and was famous for its formations. But as they developed, they gained vast amounts of resources and their martial arts were also extremely powerful. However, a newly famous formation grandmaster actually dared to come to their door to issue a challenge? How audacious! However, when some people thought of the status of the Yin clan, they guessed that maybe this formation grandmaster wanted to borrow the Yin clan's name to let more people know of his existence. After all, it was very normal for him to lose to the Yin clan. Or to put it more accurately, it was something inevitable. However, he had already attracted the attention of Lifefire City. One couldn't help but say that this was a chess move. Most probably, the Yin clan had been made use of by someone. Hence, many people were waiting. 3 days passed by very quickly. The Yin aristocrat clan occupied a vast amount of land, and was an extremely powerful aristocrat clan. Outside the aristocrat clan, there was a vast area where many people gathered. All of them were interested in the matter of Grandmaster D paying a visit. Among these people there were many experts from major powers. After all, this was a formation grandmaster challenging an aristocrat clan. Even if he was defeated, they could still take the opportunity to recruit a formation grandmaster. He's here. At this moment a voice rang out. From afar 2 figures appeared. One was a master and the other was a servant. The servant had a calm expression on her face, but her heart wasn't as calm as she appeared. As for the rumored grandmaster, he was still as mysterious as ever. He wore a cold mask and his aura was very cold. His long black hair draped over his shoulders, and his entire person emitted a cold and sharp aura. His ramrod straight body seemed to be filled with the pride in his bones. Chapter 1575. Formation grandmasters were all arrogant. Who asked their statuses to be so high? Ordinary unaffiliated cultivators were extremely miserable. They had to search for cultivation resources everywhere. But if an unaffiliated grandmaster was a formation grandmaster, they basically didn't need to worry about this problem. Cultivation resources would naturally be delivered to their doorstep, and they could easily join a major power, becoming an esteemed guest. Hence, this mysterious Grandmaster D was arrogant and mysterious. No one felt that there was anything wrong with him. In fact, they felt that it was very normal. Since formation grandmasters were proud, a formation aristocrat clan would naturally be even prouder. The Yin clan was a formation aristocrat clan. How could they allow others to profane them so easily? They had gathered many unaffiliated grandmasters to spar with each other. Only powerful grandmasters would be able to become guest elders of their Yin clan. But now, a single grandmaster actually dared to challenge them? How could the Yin clan tolerate this? Hence, outside the Yin clan's main gate, there was a formation platform that radiated a terrifying formation aura. It was like as long as the formation was activated, it would be able to unleash terrifying might. On the platform, an old man with a white beard could be seen. Although he was old, he was brimming with energy and vigor. His cultivation base was at the initial stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Clearly, he was also an extremely powerful formation grandmaster. Right now, he was guarding the platform, as though he was waiting for the arrival of this mysterious grandmaster. The people in the surroundings all knew who this person was. He was an extremely powerful formation grandmaster, a guest elder of the Yin clan, Grandmaster Mao. Upon seeing the 2 figures in the air, Grandmaster Mao coldly spoke, "Newcomer, report your name." Didan. The black-robed figure in the air coldly spoke. He glanced at the platform and coldly spoke, "Is the Yin clan treating guests like this? I'm a guest elder of the Yin clan. The Yin clan is an aristocrat clan that specializes in formations. If anyone can challenge us, wouldn't there be no peace? There are many people who want to use the Yin clan to gain fame. You aren't one of them. However, if you want to enter, you must first have the qualifications to do so. The formation on this platform was inscribed by me. If you can break it, you will have the qualifications to enter. If not, you are just someone with an undeserved reputation. Don't embarrass yourself here, just scram." Grandmaster Mao coldly spoke. He similarly exuded a sense of arrogance. Back then, it was precisely because the Yen clan invited some unaffiliated grandmasters to discuss about the most outstanding characters in the world of formations that he became a guest elder. However, this Ditian before him actually rejected them directly and even came to challenge them. By doing this, wouldn't it cause them, the guest elders, to lose face? What Grandmaster Mao said is correct. Not just anyone is qualified to enter our Yin clan. This formation is merely a formation that Grandmaster Mao casually created. If you cannot even break through this formation, then scram as far as you can. The expert who went to invite Ditian earlier was here as well. He stood at the entrance of the Yen clan with his hands clasped behind his back, coldly staring at Ditian. The eyes of the experts here flashed. As expected, the Yen clan clearly thought that Grandmaster D wanted to make use of them to gain fame. Hence, they inscribed a formation platform outside. If this Grandmaster D couldn't even break through this formation, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to enter. In that case, the one who would lose face would be Ditian and his reputation would be tarnished. Naturally, this would show that the status of the Yen clan wasn't a place that just anyone could enter. On the other hand, even if Ditian could break through this formation, he would only be qualified to enter the Yen clan and wouldn't be able to prove anything. No matter how one looked at it, this was beneficial to the Yen clan. As expected of an aristocrat clan, how could they allow others to make use of them so easily? Now, it all depended on whether Ditian could break through this formation or not. Ditian glanced at the person who invited him earlier as well as Grandmaster Mao. His expression was very calm and he didn't say anything to them. Actions would always be more effective than words. At this moment, it was time for him to break the formation first. Are you controlling this formation from inside? Ditian glanced at Grandmaster Mao as he asked. Why is there a need for this? The formation has already been completed and it naturally has its own might. There's no need for me to control it. He laughed coldly and took a step forward. In an instant, boundless resplendent runic light lit up. In just an instant, the resplendent light connected to the 9 heavens as starlight descended. Clearly, this was a spell formation of the Tao of Emperors. A fearsome destructive energy erupted forth from the formation. For a moment, the formation platform was filled with a destructive might. Boundless golden lines could slice through everything. If one stepped on the platform, most probably their bodies would be instantly destroyed. What a powerful formation! The eyes of everyone flashed. As expected of a guest elder of the Yen clan, the formation inscribed by this Grandmaster Mao was sufficient to kill ordinary mid-stage immortal emperors. But this Grandmaster D was merely an initial stage immortal emperor. His ability to set up formations has already been proven, but what about breaking them? Ditian didn't want to clash with him using formations. The Yen clan felt that Ditian didn't have the qualifications to do so. Hence, they first set up a formation platform for him to break. One couldn't help but say that the Yen clan was very intelligent. If this Grandmaster D couldn't break the formation, it would truly be a huge loss of face. Grandmaster D, please. Grandmaster Mao stretched his hand out in a very polite manner. However, his lips curled up in a proud smile, as though he was mocking Ditian. Ditian had just become famous, and he actually dared to challenge the Yen clan? He truly overestimated his own capabilities. Just this battle alone was enough to make him lose face. As for Grandmaster Mao himself, his silhouette flashed as he retreated from the platform. Just like what he said, the formation was already completed. There was no need for him to control it anymore. Ditian stared at the formation as he stepped forward. He stretched out his palms and in an instant, a gigantic heavenly hammer appeared in the air. The head of the hammer expanded rapidly as astral light cascaded downwards, landing on the surface of the hammer. On the surface of the hammer, boundless runic light flowed, interweaving unceasingly, forming a marvelous diagram. He took another step forward and grabbed at the air, holding the heavenly hammer in his hand. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his arms danced. In an instant, the boundlessly huge heavenly hammer that could cover the entire matrix platform suddenly smashed down. 2 resplendent beams of light intersected and collided. On the matrix platform, countless golden threads sliced up, tearing everything apart. Grandmaster Mao coldly laughed. It was as if he could already see the scene of this heavenly hammer being torn apart. Two incomparably powerful beams of Emperor light intertwined. Just when the destructive golden thread slashed against the heavenly hammer, terrifying runic diagrams radiated from the surface of the heavenly hammer, radiating forth with the power to suppress and seal everything. In just an instant, the golden thread seemed to have been sealed as it was constantly being suppressed. The two beams of light clashed together with shocking speed. In a short instant, the crowd only heard a thunderous boom as the heavenly hammer slammed down, slamming into the formation platform. A terrifying runic diagram imprinted itself on the platform, directly sealing the formation, causing no aura to leak out from the platform. Dition released his palm. The heavenly hammer dissipated. With a step, he calmly stood on the platform and stomped on the formation. The thunderous boom echoed in the air. The eyes of everyone froze as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. This method of breaking formations was a little too tyrannical. No matter how strong you are, I'll just smash my hammer down and directly seal you. I don't care what formation you are using. There seemed to be a formation imprinted on the surface of the heavenly hammer. Grandmaster D's grand sealing formation actually appeared with a single smash of the hammer. This was too tyrannical. Many people still hadn't recovered from their shock when they saw Dition already standing on the formation platform. Some of them had seen formations being broken before, but they had never seen such a tyrannical method. So what if your formation is powerful? I've already sealed it, how can you still play? Grandmaster Mao's countenance instantly turned pale. Their original goal was to make Dition look like a fool, smashing Dition's reputation. But now that the hammer smashed down, Dition's reputation would surely increase. Even if he was defeated in the Yen clan, he would still be able to accumulate enough fame. He had already achieved his goal of becoming famous. As for him, he had become a stepping stone. In the future, when others mentioned him, they would immediately think that his formation was sealed by a single hammer strike. It was too lousy, there was no value to it. This was no longer an ordinary formation breaking. It was a hammer strike that smashed his formation apart. That expert from the Yen clan who mocked Dition earlier also froze. His countenance alternated between shades of green and white. This hammer strike was simply too smacking his face. Dition couldn't be bothered with what they were feeling. He walked down the formation platform and walked forward step by step, not even glancing at Grandmaster Mao. When he came to the side of Grandmaster Mao, he paused and spoke in a light voice. The Yen clan sent you here to guard the gate. Is it because the Yen clan has no capable people, or are you too useless? This voice was naturally a reply to Grandmaster Mao's earlier mockery. Just this voice alone caused Grandmaster Mao's countenance to turn ashen. His fists were tightly clenched, but he had no words to retort. His formation was actually smashed apart by a single hammer strike. That hammer strike also smashed his reputation and his pride. He was a grandmaster in the field of formations. How could he be nothing more than a gatekeeper? Although this voice was very soft, given the cultivation bases of everyone here, they could all hear it clearly. As expected of a grandmaster character, how could he allow others to humiliate him so easily? The actions of the Yen clan and Grandmaster Mao undoubtedly wanted to humiliate him, making it so that he couldn't even enter the gate. As for him, he used the most tyrannical method to reply to the Yen clan, as well as to reply to Grandmaster Mao. This formation was merely casually inscribed by Grandmaster Mao. Even if you broke it, what does it represent? It's merely a qualification to enter the gate. That expert from the Yen clan who invited Dition earlier coldly spoke. Dition inclined his head and glanced at that expert as unmasked mockery flashed in his eyes. He coldly laughed. Lying to yourself like this, do you think everyone here is a fool? Before this, you once invited me to participate in a gathering of grandmasters. Only the most outstanding among them would be able to become a guest elder of your Yen clan. But now, a guest elder of your Yen clan only has this little bit of attainments in formations. Let me give you a word of advice in the future. It's best for you not to do such a shameful thing or you might become a joke. After speaking, he walked forward step by step, ignoring the ugly expression on that expert's face, and directly entered the gate of the Yen clan. Behind him, the fairy maid also quietly followed. Her tall and slender body stood ramrod straight, as if she was proud of him. Chapter 1576. At the entrance of the Yin clan, there was a path leading the way. Even if Ditian came here to provoke them, as an aristocrat clan in the field of formations, the Yin clan naturally had to maintain the demeanor of an aristocrat clan. If not, wouldn't they be a joke to others? In addition, even if a guest elder of their Yin clan was humiliated outside, it wouldn't affect anything. The status of their Yin clan wasn't built in a single day, it was built after many years. Since Ditian wanted to challenge them, let's see how high the attainments of this Grandmaster Qin Wentian was. A serving girl came to the entrance of the Yin clan, inviting those spectators in as well. This caused many people to silently sigh in admiration. As expected of a major aristocrat clan, they were truly imposing, not caring about the spectators. Although Grandmaster Ditian's attainments in formations were very high, it was impossible for him to be comparable to the Yin clan. Now they wanted to see how strong he was exactly. As an aristocrat clan in the field of formations, the Yin clan had their own public square. It was extremely vast and there were spectator stands in all four directions. In the center there was a formation platform. The internal conflicts of the Yin clan would also be conducted here. Right now they had invited Ditian and the spectators here. The one who received Ditian and the others was an elder of the Yin clan. His name was Yanzhong and he was very powerful. His cultivation base was at the peak stage of the mid-stage, only a step away from the peak stage. In addition, his attainments in formations were also very high. This was why he was able to become an elder. At this moment he sat in the main seat. Beside him, there were several immortal emperors as well as some guest elders and juniors. All of them were staring at the masked figure sitting opposite them. This person came to challenge our Yin clan and an elder actually personally came to receive him. If it was me, I would have directly sent someone to kick him out. An extremely young female junior spoke with some unhappiness. What status did their Yin clan have? When had they ever been provoked by an unaffiliated formation grandmaster before? She felt that by doing so, wouldn't it weaken the prestige of their Yin clan? What do you know? This is called magnanimity. Since he wants to provoke us, let's show him the capabilities of our Yin clan. We will also let the spectators know that our Yin clan's proficiency in formations isn't something that can be shaken by just anyone. A handsome young man who was slightly older spoke. These juniors sat together and whispered. The elders did not pay attention to them and let them be. Grandmaster D, I wonder why you came to my Yin clan? Yanzhong stared at Ditian, asking despite knowing the answer. I've heard that the Yin clan is an aristocratic clan that specializes in formations. I've heard of its fame and came here to seek guidance. I wish to see the Yin clan's formations. Ditian calmly spoke. Although his tone sounded polite, there was a hint of coldness in it. Everyone knew that he came here to challenge Yanzhong. There was no need for him to be too polite. Yanzhong was merely feigning civility. If not, there wouldn't be such a grand formation platform outside the Yin clan. Naturally, there was nothing wrong with this. If Ditian couldn't even pass that test, it meant that he didn't even have the qualifications to make the Yin clan feign civility towards him. Wanting an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations to accompany you, that would depend on how much weight you have. Grandmaster D, what do you intend to do? Yanzhong asked again. Breaking formation, martial formation, fighting formation. Ditan faintly spoke, his words causing the eyes of everyone to gleam with sharpness. There were three methods for a battle between formations. Breaking formation, martial formation, fighting formation. Breaking formation was similar to the battle outside the Yin clan. Two formation grandmasters would each set up their own formations and break each other's formations, sparring with each other. Martial formation was also known as formation battle. It was a direct battle, but in the process of battle, only the power of formations could be borrowed and not innate techniques could be used. Fighting formation was also a type of formation battle. It was similar to martial formation, but there was a difference. Two formation grandmasters would first set up their own formations and use the power of their own formations to battle. What they were competing on was the strength of their formations. Among the three combat methods, the requirement for martial formation was the highest. Ordinary formation grandmasters wouldn't be able to easily inscribe a formation and use it in battle. They would need to form a formation with a single thought. Even ordinary formation grandmasters wouldn't be able to do this. When Ditian came here to provoke the Yen clan, he directly used all three methods of sparring. From this, one could see how deep his attainments in formations were. He was definitely an all-round character. Just a single sentence from him caused the expressions of many to turn solemn. Seems like Grandmaster D came here prepared. Yin Zhong's gaze grew heavy as he cast a deep glance at Ditian. Seems like this mysterious Grandmaster wasn't simple at all. He had to treat him seriously. If not, if his Yen clan was defeated, although their status would still be there, their reputation would be greatly damaged, causing others to feel that their Yen clan was already at the end of their rope. Since Grandmaster D is so interested, I will naturally treat myself as Grandmaster D. Yin Zhong replied. Since Ditian had already suggested a way to challenge them, how could he still reject? Wouldn't that be considered cowardice? It's just that the people of my Yin clan are proficient in different fields. Hence, I'm afraid we have to send out different people for the 3 sparring rounds. If not, if we want to find such an all-round person, we would have to send out a peak-level formation grandmaster of our Yin clan. Wouldn't that be unfair to Grandmaster D? What does Grandmaster D think? Yin Zhong asked. His words were actually somewhat shameless. After all, Ditian was just one person while their Yin clan was an aristocratic clan. Yet, they were prepared to send out 3 people to deal with the 3 sparring rounds. However, Yin Zhong calmly replied. It wasn't that their Yin clan didn't have such all-round formation grandmasters. It's just that if they were too strong they would be bullying Ditian. You guys can do as you wish. Ditian calmly replied. A simple sentence as though he didn't care about it at all. However, it caused the Yin clan to appear petty. Fine, Grandmaster D is at the initial stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. However, formations and cultivation are 2 different DAOs. Hence, the cultivation base of our Yin clan's formation Grandmaster might be higher than Grandmaster D. I hope Grandmaster D won't blame us. Yin Zhong spoke again. Many people were silently cursing the Yin clan for not having any guts. Although formations and cultivation were different, the great DAOs were interlinked. The stronger one was, the more chances they would have to create a stronger formation. Ditian was just one person. It was fine if the Yin clan sent out 3, but their cultivation bases were all higher than Ditian's. From this point it could be seen that this sparring wasn't that fair. However, the 3 sparring rounds were suggested by Ditian. Clearly, the Yin clan didn't want to lose. Hence, Yin Zhong knew that by doing this, he would become a laughingstock for others. Hence, he still chose to do this all for the sake of victory. As long as the Yin clan could suppress Ditian, no one would remember anything else. They would only know that the Yin clan's proficiency in formations wasn't to be challenged. As you wish, Ditian calmly replied. As though he had a card up his sleeve. There was no way to mask his arrogance. Fine. Since this is the case, Grandmaster D will be the one to decide the sequence of the 3 sparring rounds. Yin Zhong politely spoke, causing everyone to snort in disdain. For the first round, let's break the formations. Ditian spoke. Yin Zhong nodded, turning his gaze to an old man beside him. This old man exuded a sharp aura, akin to a sharp sword. Stepping out, he directly soared through the air and landed on a formation platform. Please. The old man stared at Ditian. Ditian stood up and stepped out, coming to a platform opposite of the old man. Let's begin. Ditian calmly spoke. In an instant, resplendent astral light descended from the sky. He stomped on the ground and instantly, numerous divine inscriptions flashed. The astral light cascaded down from the sky, transforming into a picture scroll that directly sealed the entire platform within. Within it, rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly, but no one could see how Ditian was inscribing the formation. Even immortal senses had no way to penetrate it. The old man opposite Ditian was also inscribing a formation. His formation was a killing formation. Since this was a test of breaking formations, it meant that Ditian had to break the formation he inscribed. From this, one could very well imagine his purpose. If Ditian was directly killed by the killing formation, even the governor's manor wouldn't be able to say anything. After all, this was a challenge and both parties agreed on it. As for the battle after that, there was no longer a need for that. Everyone quietly waited. After a long time, the picture scroll vanished as Dition's figure appeared, quietly standing on the platform. Opposite him, the old man had also finished inscribing a formation. A terrifying sharpness gushed forth, exuding an incomparably fearsome killing intent. "Please," the old man spoke to Dition. "Please," Dition replied. After that, the two of them stepped out, moving towards the opponent's formation. Since they were breaking formations, they naturally had to do it at the same time. If both of them had the ability to break the opponent's formation, it would depend on whose speed was faster. However, for this battle, the old man from the Yen clan had the advantage. His cultivation base was at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, higher compared to Dition. But would Dition care about such an advantage? He came to the side of his opponent's platform and stared at the destructive might within it. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he stretched out his hand. The heavenly hammer appeared once more, expanding unceasingly, transforming into a giant hammer that could shake the heavens. With no hesitation, Dition directly stepped into the airspace above the formation as his heavenly hammer abruptly smashed down. Emperor light flashed as the might of the killing formation soared up, enveloping this entire space. Boundless killing intent transformed into a destructive sword formation, wanting to trap Dition within. Everyone only saw a terrifying diagram appearing on the heavenly hammer, clashing against the destructive sword formation formed from the boundless sword intent, forcefully forcing it back into the formation as an intense rumbling sound rang out. Dition's movements didn't stop. He continued to lift his heavenly hammer and smashed it down once more. When he saw this scene, the expression of the old man from the Yen clan changed slightly. He knew that this formation probably wouldn't be able to stop Dition. Hence, he directly stepped into Dition's formation. In the sky, numerous vertical strands of sword might descended. 10,000 swords descended together, and an austere killing intent enveloped this entire world. Swish, swish, swish. As the swords descended, the formation seemed to be enraged. Countless scrolls of sword might gushed forth, blotting out the sky and directly engulfing the entire space. The old man who was trapped within the formation inclined his head, but he actually couldn't sense the laws of the sky. His expression couldn't help but turn heavy. He had been sealed. Boom! On the other platform, Dition's heavenly hammer continued smashing down, time after time. The killing might of the formation below gradually calmed down, as though it was being suppressed. The situation on both sides was completely different. Chapter 1577. The Yen clan is going to lose the first battle. The eyes of the spectators gleamed with sharpness. Their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Yen Zhong and the other experts of the Yen clan could also tell that Dition's formation-breaking methods were extremely powerful. He directly summoned a heavenly hammer that seemed to be born from the forging of an astral soul. It could directly imprint runic diagrams into an attack, directly using it to break formations. Also, because it was proficient in suppressive energy, it was extremely suitable for breaking formations. And as expected, not long after, the formation was completely sealed. The formation grandmaster of the Yen clan was defeated in the first battle. However, things weren't so easy for the Yen clan's expert. First, his emperor light was sealed. After that, boundless sealing light poured into his body, sealing away his law energy. In fact, even the energy flowing through his body was sealed, causing his combat prowess to weaken unceasingly. Those outside the formation didn't experience this personally, they naturally wouldn't understand. Grandmaster D, victory and defeat have already been decided. Is this enough? Yen Zhong spoke, indicating for Dition to release the Yen clan's expert. He is already trapped within the formation. It's already too late. Dition spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, numerous sealing swords manifested, directly penetrating through the body of the Yen clan's expert. That mid-stage immortal emperor actually felt his limbs being restrained, allowing the countless swords to penetrate through him. After that, he collapsed within the formation, dying. At this instant, silence filled the air. Everyone stared in shock at Dition. He actually killed the Yen clan's expert. This Grandmaster D actually killed a mid-stage immortal emperor from the Yen clan. Not only that, the Yen clan was also a grandmaster of formations. Also, this was done in the Yin aristocrat clan. This was simply audacious. Impudent. The experts of the Yin clan all had cold expressions on their faces. Someone berated. In fact, there were even several experts who stepped out. Tian glanced at them as he calmly spoke. Can't you guys afford to lose? Step down. Yin Zhong berated, stopping everyone. The expressions of the Yin clan's experts were extremely ugly to behold as they stared fixedly at Tian. Grandmaster D, I invited you to challenge us. But by doing this, are you planning to become enemies with my Yin clan? Yin Zhong's voice was cold to the extreme. A mid-stage immortal emperor grandmaster was a great loss to his Yin clan. In addition, he was killed in public. One could very well imagine how he was feeling right now. A straightforward person doesn't need to resort to insinuations. Why must you be so hypocritical? Back then when I was cultivating at home, members of your Yin clan directly came to provoke me, acting all high and mighty and even injuring my serving girl. I naturally came here to seek justice. Before I even entered the Yin clan, there was already an array platform waiting for me. Now that you say this is a sparring match, you actually set up a killing array. What is the meaning of this? Tian straightforwardly spoke. If it wasn't so, I wouldn't have added a killing formation into the formation. If the person who died earlier was me, I believe the Yin clan wouldn't have the slightest bit of sympathy. They would only think that I was courting death, overestimating my own capabilities. Everyone felt their hearts trembling when they heard Tian's words. His words weren't wrong, the truth was as such. The Yin clan laid down a killing formation. Their intentions were clear without words. Sadly, Tian directly broke it apart and the people of the Yin clan died instead. Although the logic was as such, this was still the Yin aristocrat clan after all. It was only natural for the Yin clan to do so. Tian directly replied in such a domineering manner, speaking so frankly. This was simply too brazen. In addition, did Tian really come to the Yin clan just to seek justice for his serving girl? Although she knew that it was fake, that serving girl of the immortal king Tian still felt touched in her heart. She stared at the back view of that arrogant figure as pride flashed in her eyes. Tian directly tore apart the pretense of cordiality. Yin Zhong's expression turned heavy as killing intent gushed forth from him. Since you said this, don't blame my Yin clan for being ruthless. How do you intend to fight the second battle? Yin Zhong coldly asked. Martial formation. Tian calmly spoke. Yin Zhong then called out, Yin Mu, you will fight this battle? Right. A voice rang out from afar. After that, a figure walked out from the Yin clan. Grandmaster Yin Mu. The eyes of everyone flashed. This Yin Mu was extremely famous. His attainments in formations were extremely high, and he had been famous for a very long time. Before this, he didn't come here because he originally didn't intend to fight. However, he was forced to fight by Tian. Grandmaster Yin Mu's formations are already extremely powerful, able to instantly form a formation. Tian will be in danger if he fights for the martial battle. This Yin clan is truly bullying the weak. Everyone mused silently. Naturally, they didn't dare to say anything. Since all pretense of cordiality was already torn apart, the Yin clan naturally wouldn't be polite to Tian. It was only logical that they sent out a powerful character to fight. Yin Mu was very old and his hair was white. However, his cultivation base was extremely profound and his aura was extremely powerful. He stood in the air as his long robes fluttered despite there being no wind. His imposing eyes were filled with spirit as he stared at Tian Jr. How can you succeed if you don't know how to keep a low profile? My Yin clan has been established for so many years. How can you dare to provoke us? Tian's eyes were as cold as ever. He stared at Yin Mu. You are old. These few simple words contained a strong sense of contempt. Yin Mu's expression turned even colder. Dazzling emperor light shone down and landed on his body. He soared into the air and flew towards the sky. Tian similarly flew up as astral light cascaded down on him. Both of them were extremely dazzling. Even in places extremely far away from the Yin clan, these two silhouettes could still be seen. Yin Mu was also proficient in sword-attributed energy. Swords were proficient in killing. Formations grandmasters were proficient in sword formations, and wouldn't be at a disadvantage when it came to attacking formations. This was especially so for powerful sword formations. Since this was a battle between formations, it naturally couldn't be purely based on innate techniques. Each and every attack had to be a formation. Yenmu pressed his palm into the air. In an instant, boundless emperor light cascaded down, interweaving into a resplendent divine inscription diagram that took the form of a sword. There seemed to be a formless sword character in the air, slashing down from the heavens and earth. Even space itself was about to be sliced apart by this sword formation. The might of this sword formation was about to descend upon Dition's body. Around Dition, boundless sword light also cascaded down, unceasingly converging into runic inscriptions. The sharp swords actually transformed into numerous sealing gates, sealing the space he was in. When the terrifying might of the sword formation slashed over, the sealing gates were still incomparably sturdy. Yenmu naturally wouldn't give up this opportunity to attack. He stretched his hand out in the air, only to see that in that space, boundless runic light interweaved together to form a terrifying whole. There seemed to be countless sharp swords brewing within, transforming into a terrifying storm of sword chi that gushed towards Dition. Dition's hands unceasingly formed seals as constellations appeared behind him. In an instant, in the boundless space, boundless law energy drifted about, resembling snowflakes drifting down. There was no might contained within, but Yenmu felt that something was wrong. Seal. Dition spoke. The drifting law energy suddenly transformed into runic inscriptions, forming a formation with a single thought. A terrifying prison of sealing appeared in the air, sealing this entire battlefield within. Yenmu's eyes narrowed. He could no longer sense astral light. The outside world was sealed, but Dition wasn't affected at all, as this was his seal. The astral light from the heavens unceasingly descended upon the prison of sealing, strengthening it. Slash! Yenmu controlled the terrifying sword formation, wanting to slash apart the prison. However, he only saw Dition walking out from the sealing gate. Dition pointed his finger forward as the formation actually started to shrink. The prison of sealing shrank unceasingly, but its power grew even more terrifying as it rapidly enveloped Yenmu. Yenmu's sword formation had no way to break the seal. With a loud roar, Yenmu seemed to have forgotten the agreement that he had to use his Tao of formations to fight against Dition. He released other types of energy, but the sealing formation was already right before him. It grew smaller and smaller, directly enveloping him within. Yenmu. Yen Zhong's expression changed. From afar, a few powerful auras gushed forth. After that, the crowd only saw the prison of sealing directly transforming into a speck of light. With a thunderous boom, it exploded apart, and Yenmu's body also vanished along with the destruction of the prison. He was killed on the spot. From the Yen aristocrat clan, a famed expert in the field of formations was killed by Dition. Numerous tyrannical auras gushed forth. There were actually several peak-stage immortal emperors stepping out, their auras incomparably terrifying. Their killing intent towered up into the sky as they stared at Dition with incomparable coldness. After all, Dition was only an initial stage immortal emperor. Although he had some fame, the fact that an elder of the Yen clan came out to deal with him was already enough for the Yen clan to take this matter seriously. However, they didn't expect that they actually failed and even lost two of their experts. Although the Yen clan was an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations, they couldn't afford to suffer such a loss. This was especially so for Yenmu. He originally had an extraordinary status in the Yen clan, but he actually died in a battle of formations. Those spectators who came to the Yen clan to spectate felt their hearts pounding as a thought appeared in their minds. Dition was about to become famous. Also, it wasn't just a little bit famous like before. At the very least, his name would shake the entire central city regions of Lifire City. Such a formation grandmaster was already worthy of many major powers wanting to recruit him. This Grandmaster D truly had strength and was very confident in himself. Hence, did he choose the Yen clan as the place where he became famous? Naturally, there was also a possibility that the disrespectful words spoken by the experts of the Yen clan back then became the fuse. In any case, with Yenmu's death, Grandmaster D's fame could no longer be concealed. Although he lost the third battle, he had already won 2 battles and could be considered to have defeated the entire Yen clan head-on. Also, he relied on his own strength to issue 3 challenges: breaking formations, martial formations, and battle formations. From this, one could see that his attainments and formations were above the vast majority of the older generations in the Yen clan. What was laughable was that the Yen clan still wanted to gather people to participate in their gathering, and only the most outstanding ones would be able to become guest elders. How ironic! It was no wonder Ditian was angered. Many experts of the Yen clan stepped out, wanting to surround Ditian and kill him. Ditian's eyes flashed. His black eyes were as cold as ever. His hair was as black as ink, and the mask on his face caused people to feel the coldness radiating from him. It was true that he came here for the sake of fame. For a formation grandmaster, only by becoming famous would he be able to receive more attention. No matter where he went, he would be able to receive better treatment and become an esteemed guest of the peak powers of Lifire City. The Yen clan, an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations, just happened to bump into him. Chapter 1578. It was inevitable that Grandmaster Ditian would become famous. However, if a dead person became famous, there would be no meaning to it. Although Ditian was defeated in the third battle, it wouldn't obstruct his fame from shaking the central city regions. But what if he died? He consecutively killed 2 mid-stage Immortal Emperor formation grandmasters from the Yen clan. The Yen clan would definitely kill him no matter what. Hence, in this final battle, Ditian would be defeated for sure because the Yen clan would surely send out extremely powerful grandmasters to deal with him. Before Ditian challenged the Yen clan, no one expected such a situation to occur. The Yen clan didn't expect this as well. If not, they wouldn't have acted in such a manner, even allowing the spectators to enter. After this battle, the Yen clan would surely become a laughing stock. Staring at the experts from the Yen clan, Ditian coldly stared at them. Before this, when he killed the first person, it was already like this. Now it was the same. It was just that this time around, the killing intent of his opponents was even more intense. 2 mid-stage Immortal Emperor formation grandmasters including Yen Mu. Their deaths were something the Yen clan couldn't tolerate. Why is this place so lively? What's going on? I just happened to pass by and wanted to take a look. A hearty laughter rang out as someone walked through the air towards them. To be able to break the silence in such an occasion, it was evident that his identity was extraordinary. Everyone turned their gazes over and many people recognized this person. Their eyes froze when they saw this person. Someone from the Mo clan. The eyes of everyone flashed. The Mo clan was the same as the Yin clan, an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations. They were also located in the central city regions of Lifire City, and were extremely powerful, strong enough to contend against the Yin clan. The person who came was an elder of the Mo clan and he had a very high status, a peak stage immortal emperor. Mo Fei. Yin Zhong frowned when he saw him. What are you doing here? Haha, I was just passing by the Yin clan and heard that there would be a show here. Hence I decided to come in. Your Yin clan didn't obstruct me at all. How hospitable. Who would have thought that before I even arrived, I would already witness such a fascinating battle? Mo Fei laughed. He turned his gaze to Ditian and clasped his hands. I've long heard that a mysterious grandmaster has appeared in this region and I've always wanted to meet him. I'm Mo Fei from the Mo clan. Grandmaster D's attainments and formations are truly admirable. Everyone silently sneered in their hearts. These words were too polite. If it wasn't for Ditian's performance, given Mo Fei's status, would he even want to meet Ditian? Most probably, only Ditian had the qualifications to pay a visit to him. However, reality was like this. If you wanted people to respect you, you had to take out enough capital. If not, why would people waste their time on you? Cultivators were all very busy. Senior, you flatter me. Ditian nodded at Mo Fei. There's no need to praise me too much. His attainments in the Tao of formations are truly profound. Being able to defeat Grandmaster Yenmu of the Yen clan when he is at the initial stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, if he improves further in the future, it would be hard for him to find an opponent in the Tao of formations. Another voice drifted over. Many people couldn't help but take a deep breath. Another aristocrat clan had arrived. Although this person wasn't an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations, the clan behind him was extremely powerful. More and more experts arrived and sat on the viewing platform. The guards outside the Yen clan all came to report. After all, they had received the order to let them pass. But not long after, there were actually more people entering the Yen clan. They had no choice but to come and report. There are people from the governor's manor here as well. At this moment, someone glanced in a certain direction. There were a few characters with terrifying auras sitting together. They were all people from the governor's manor, and one of them was even a vice-governor. The governor's manor in the central regions of Lifire City wasn't as weak as the northern governor's manor. The central governor's manor was under Xiaoho's control, and no one dared to antagonize him. Every time it was time to collect tributes, the various major powers would take the initiative to pay up. No one dared to cause trouble in front of the people from the governor's manor. The people from the governor's manor had arrived. Unless Ditian was killed in a clash of formations, he wouldn't die. It was impossible for the Yen clan to kill Ditian in front of the governor's manor just for the sake of revenge. That would be against the rules. But if there were deaths in a clash of formations, that was because both sides had an agreement. If one was killed, it could only be said that they were useless. The people from the Yen clan who surrounded Ditian silently retreated. It was impossible to kill Ditian directly. They could only rely on the final battle. At this moment, even Yanzhong fell silent. He inclined his head and stared at a figure in the air. It was like this person was the person with the highest status in the Yen clan. Yanfeng, you will go for the formation battle. That old man calmly spoke. After that, a middle-aged man walked out from the Yen clan. However, his eyes were filled with spirit, terrifying to the extreme. Faint killing intent radiated from him, and when he stared at Ditian felt as though his eyes were being burned by fire. Grandmaster Yanfeng is going to fight. This Yen clan is truly shameless enough. Everyone was speechless when they saw Yanfeng stepping out. Yanfeng was a pillar of the Yen clan, a peak-stage immortal emperor. Even the disparity in strength between him and Ditian was hard to make up for. With a difference of 2 levels, how could the formations they inscribed be fair? A battle like this was simply bullying. As expected, the Yen clan wants Grandmaster D to die. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror. Grandmaster Yanfeng personally stepped out. From this, one could very well imagine how strong the Yen clan's determination to kill Ditian was. Many major characters who came here quietly watched. They didn't interfere. After all, this was a battle between the Yen clan and Ditian. Since both sides had already made an agreement, no one could stop it. Ditian had to fulfill his end of the agreement. After the battle, if Ditian couldn't hold on, it wasn't a big deal even if he admitted defeat. Grandmaster D. Yanfeng is a peak-stage immortal emperor. It's normal for you to lose if you fight against him. If you can't hold on, just admit defeat directly. I believe given Yanfeng's strength and status, he wouldn't make things difficult for you. Mo Fei from the Mo clan laughed, his words causing the people from the Yen clan to coldly glance at him. However, Mo Fei acted like he didn't see it. He was still smiling. Many thanks for your guidance. If I can't win, I will naturally admit defeat. Ditian's voice was as calm as ever. His black hair and black robes, as well as his silver-black mask, exuded a cold and sharp aura, as well as his arrogance. Please. Although Yanfeng said the word please, his voice was extremely cold, filled with killing intent. He then landed on a platform. Ditian's silhouette flickered, landing on a platform opposite of him. Battle formations were different from martial formations. They would first inscribe divine inscriptions on each other before using the formations to fight, comparing the strength of the formations they inscribed. Astral light cascaded down from the sky, landing on Yanfeng and Ditian. The light radiating from Yanfeng was extremely terrifying. Boundless law energy akin to heavenly fire enveloped the entire platform. Countless runes flashed as divine inscriptions interweaved together, exuding a tyrannical aura. Just when he started inscribing the formations, a fearsome destructive might gushed forth from the divine inscriptions. Yet, Ditian didn't seem to notice it. He was completely immersed in inscribing the formations. This time around, he came here precisely to make a name for himself. As long as he defeated the Yen clan, his name as a formations grandmaster would naturally circulate throughout Lifire City. It's just that he didn't expect the Yen clan to inscribe a killing formation in the first battle. In that case, He would follow their wishes and directly inscribe a killing formation within the formations, killing them all. Ditian didn't mind blowing this matter out of proportion. Similarly, he didn't mind his opponents being stronger. The stronger this was, the greater his fame would be, and it would be beneficial to his future cultivation in Lifire City. The atmosphere was exceptionally quiet. Everyone patiently waited. Finally, terrifying runic inscriptions appeared on the platform Yanfeng was on. He stood there and stared in Ditian's direction. His eyes were filled with spirit, filled with killing intent. It was like he wanted nothing more than to kill Ditian right here and now. He didn't want to wait even a second longer. Not long after, Ditian's formation was completed as well. Boundless sealing energy flowed around the platform as law energy cascaded down from the sky, resembling ripples of water, resplendent with resplendent light. Is the battle formation ready? Yanfeng coldly asked. Make your move. Ditian nodded. He was already prepared. As the sound of his voice faded, the platform Yanfeng was on suddenly erupted with terrifying black flames. Each of the flames contained a heaven-shaking destructive might. Within the flames, there were even destructive lightning bolts as well as the power of coldness. Coldness and flames actually appeared in the same formation. This was simply terrifying. Yanfeng waved his hands. In an instant, dragons and snakes danced in the air as a towering destructive aura transformed into a terrifying tempest, engulfing everything. The tempest directly left the platform and shot towards the platform Ditian was on. In just an instant, the tempest completely engulfed Ditian. The expressions of everyone stiffened. This Grandmaster Yanfeng didn't want to give Ditian any chance at all. He directly wanted to kill Ditian. The eyes of many experts who arrived later froze, silently sighing at Yanfeng's strength. Under his killing formation, even peak-stage immortal emperors would find it hard to survive. This Ditian was simply too arrogant and underestimated Grandmaster Yanfeng. This time around, it was unknown if Ditian would be able to survive. They stared at the destructive might of Yanfeng's formation, gushing towards Ditian. All of them were thinking that Ditian was most probably going to die here. What a pity! When Ditian saw the boundless destructive might gushing towards him, his heart trembled. Was this the power of a peak-stage immortal emperor? Destructive lightning, black flames, coldness, all of them transformed into dragons, snakes, and white tigers, wanting to annihilate everything as they rushed towards him. Stepping out, the might of the formation erupted forth. In an instant, numerous sealing gates appeared, shooting out in all directions. These terrifying sealing gates seemed to fuse into one, flowing with perfect runic patterns. When the destructive law energy gushed over, the sealing gates were instantly sealed to their weakest state. But even so, there were still sealing gates being destroyed one after another. They could not stop the endless killing formations that were ferociously charging at them. Ditian waved his hands as countless sealing diagrams flew up from the platform, floating in the air. There seemed to be no end to them, and at the end they actually transformed into a gigantic gate. This gate covered the entire platform, and within this gate, there seemed to be another dimension. When the destructive energy gushed into the gate, it actually vanished into nothingness. That gate was like a bottomless pit, able to absorb all destructive energy. Chapter 1579. What a powerful sealing technique! This sealing formation is simply at the peak of perfection. Ditian is only an initial stage immortal emperor, but if he's inside, he would definitely be able to fight against peak stage immortal emperors. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Yanfeng's destruction formation was extremely powerful, but Ditian could actually block it. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful the sealing formation he created was. However, the power of the formation was secondary. What was more impressive was his terrifying talent and potential. Right now, he could already create a formation that could deal against peak stage immortal emperors when he was only at the initial stage. In that case, what if Ditian's strength improved further in the future, stepping into the mid-stage or even the peak stage? If his formation grew stronger, what would the situation be like? Wouldn't he be invincible in the immortal emperor realm? If that's the case, his status in Lifire City would instantly become transcendent. The people from the Yen clan all had unsightly expressions on their faces. They were an aristocrat clan that specialized in formations, and naturally understood what Di Tian's attainments in the Tao of formations meant. The more this was so, the more they wanted to kill this brat. Hence, Yin Feng's attacks grew even more violent. Although the ceiling gate was like a bottomless pit, it didn't mean that it was limitless. There must be a formation supporting it, and when the attacks reached a certain level, it would still be able to destroy it. Formations were extremely wondrous. If one didn't reach the limits of the formation, they wouldn't be able to break it. In fact, there would be no warning signs at all. Yin Feng didn't want to give Di Tian any chance at all. Di Tian only focused on defense. He waved his hands unceasingly as countless ceiling gates and diagrams flew out. In fact, a terrifying pair of eyes appeared on the platform. These eyes were like the bottomless abyss of ceiling. The light they shot out could directly seal away the attacks of Di Tian's opponents. The scene between the two platforms was extremely majestic. This was especially so for the one Di Tian was on. His attacks and defense interweaved together as different colors of light flowed wildly. The destructive might radiating from them caused everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. If this formation's energy leaked out, it would be able to easily destroy mid-stage immortal emperors and threaten peak-stage immortal emperors. For this battle of formations, I admit defeat. Di Tian suddenly spoke calmly, like he didn't mind admitting defeat at all. Who? Many drew in a deep breath. Did Di Tian admit defeat? However, they weren't surprised. Di Tian was able to endure Yin Feng's attacks, and didn't show any signs of dispiritedness at all. This was already extremely outstanding. As for losing, today Di Tian challenged the Yin clan. The victor and loser was already clear. Not only did the Yin clan lose, one could even say that they lost miserably. The battle isn't over yet. What do you mean by admitting defeat? Yin Feng coldly spoke. With a flick of his finger, the array formation around him exploded. His body floated in the air above the array platform as a monstrous amount of destructive energy gushed forth from him. The eyes of many flashed. Mo Fei from the Mo clan coldly laughed as he stood up. Since Di Tian has already admitted defeat, the victor is already decided. Yet, the Yin clan is still unwilling to let this matter rest? How disgraceful. What does the matters of my Yin family have to do with you? An old man glanced at Mo Fei. The Yin clan and Mo clan were both aristocratic clans that specialized in formations. Naturally, there would be competition between them. In addition, the Mo clan wasn't like the other major powers in Lifire City. They themselves were proficient in formations, and wouldn't need the Yin clan's help in the future. Hence they dared to speak up. Although the other major powers felt that the Yin clan couldn't afford to lose, they didn't dare to offend them. If not, it wouldn't be good if they needed help from the Yin clan in the future. Grandmaster Yin Feng's attainments in formations are truly extraordinary. It's just that it wouldn't be easy for him to defeat Grandmaster Di Tian. Since there's no way to determine the victor and Grandmaster Di Tian has admitted defeat, why don't we just stop here? Another voice rang out. The people of the Yin clan turned their gazes over, and saw that it was someone from the governor's manor, the vice-general of Governor Xiaohou. Even someone from the governor's manor has spoken. The hearts of the people of the Yin clan sank. Seems like the governor's manor wanted to recruit this unaffiliated formation grandmaster. Indeed, such an outstanding formation grandmaster, who hadn't joined any major powers, would surely be someone everyone would fight for. Yin Feng, that's enough. The leader of the Yin clan spoke. Yin Feng's expression froze. The destructive energy radiating from him gradually dissipated as the formation on the platform calmed down. His eyes were still coldly staring at Di Tian. His killing intent was as intense as ever. Di Tian didn't seem to mind at all. He clasped his hands to the experts of the Yin clan and spoke. Today, I came here to seek guidance from you. I apologize for offending you. The Yin clan is as expected of an aristocrat clan that specializes in formations. Your attainments in the field of formations are extraordinary. I am filled with admiration. If any unpleasantness occurred during this period of seeking guidance, I hope that the Yin clan won't take offense. I believe that as an aristocrat clan, the Yin clan would naturally have such magnanimity. Everyone stared at Di Tian with bewilderment. This fellow suddenly became polite? Before this, Di Tian was extremely arrogant. His tone was filled with arrogance, causing even the people of the Yin clan to feel bewildered. But when they thought about it, they instantly understood. Seems like their guess was right. Ditian has already achieved his goal, and there was no need for him to continue making enemies with the Yin clan. Hence, if he could resolve the grudge between them, he would do his best to do so. This person's actions were just like others, mysterious and unfathomable. Humph, Yanfeng coldly snorted, feeling somewhat unhappy. Ditian wanted to resolve the grudge between them, killing 2 grandmasters of their Yin clan, trampling on their Yin clan to rise to fame. Did Ditian think that this matter would be resolved just like that? Wasn't this Ditian thinking too simply? The people of the Yin clan all coldly stared at Ditian. Upon seeing this scene, Ditian didn't feel strange at all. However, he didn't mind it too much. Today, although he wanted to borrow the Yin clan to rise to fame, wasn't it the Yin clan who was the one who disrespected him first? Since you don't respect me, why should I respect you? Since you want to inscribe a killing formation, I will return the favor. It was the same now. He was willing to let bygones be bygones and both sides wouldn't interfere in each other's affairs. However, if the Yin clan wasn't willing to let this matter rest and still wanted to kill him in the future, he would definitely return the favor. Farewell. Ditian clasped his hands and smiled. After that, he destroyed the formation he inscribed and turned to depart. Grandmaster Dimo Fei am filled with admiration towards Grandmaster D's attainments in the Tao of formations. The Mo clan is also an aristocrat clan that specializes in formations. Would Grandmaster D be willing to head to my Mo clan for a spar and exchange pointers? Also, my Mo clan has many ancient formations manuals. Mo Fei smiled. The expressions of the people of the Yin clan grew even more unsightly. Ditian hadn't even stepped out of the Mo clan yet, and he was already trying to rope in an enemy of the Yin clan? Everyone could naturally tell that Mo Fei's request for a spar was different from Ditian's visit to the Yin clan. If Ditian was willing to head over, it would definitely be a friendly spar to rope in Ditian. Sure, if I'm free in the future, I will definitely pay a visit to the Mo clan. At that time, I hope that the Mo clan won't obstruct me. Ditian smiled. Brother D. I'm from the Han clan of Lifefire City. Brother D, if you are free, feel free to pay a visit to my Han clan. Another expert from a major power spoke. Sure, definitely. Ditian smiled and nodded. The other major powers couldn't be bothered with the Yin clan any longer, all of them wanting to rope in Ditian. Ditian agreed one after another, causing everyone to feel that Ditian wasn't as cold as before. After the group of people left, the experts of the Yin clan all had ashen expressions on their faces as they stared at each other speechlessly. In the future, how should we deal with him? Finally, someone asked. This time he borrowed the power of our Yin clan to rise to fame, attracting the attention of the major powers. If we want to deal with him, the governor's manor would surely suspect us. Let's just wait and see for now. The old man from the Yin clan sighed. It wasn't such a simple matter to kill a formation's grandmaster. In addition, this formation grandmaster was about to rise to fame. Just like what everyone predicted, Ditian rose to fame after a single battle. Breaking formations, martial formations, and battle formations, he won 2 out of 3 battles, killing 2 mid-stage emperors from the Yin clan. In the 3rd battle, the Yin clan sent out a peak-stage emperor, Grandmaster Yanfeng, but they still failed to kill Ditian. It was only after Ditian took the initiative to admit defeat that the battle ended. An initial stage immortal emperor actually managed to achieve such a feat just by relying on formations. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying his talent and potential was. In an instant, the courtyard where Ditian was staying in was filled with people from the various major powers of Lifefire City, sending their greetings and gifts, inviting Ditian to join them. Naturally, there were also people who invited Ditian to become a guest elder of their respective powers or clans. Ditian still rented the courtyard he used to stay in. During these few days, he was extremely busy, causing his serving girl to be extremely fatigued. At this moment in the courtyard, the serving girl took out many interspatial rings and passed them to Ditian. Sir, there are so many gifts. You truly didn't reject any of them and accepted all of them. Gifts that are delivered to my doorstep, why wouldn't I accept them? Ditian inclined his head. A faint smile could be seen in his eyes. It was very rare for the serving girl to see such a smile on Ditian's face. She blinked her eyes as she stared at Ditian in a daze. These people are only here to express their sincerity. They aren't some huge gifts. If they think they can bribe me with just these small things, that would be an insult to their intelligence. After all, it's just to form some good karma between us. If we accept them, it can be considered that both parties are acquainted with each other. In the future, when they need help, they would surely look for me. This is also what I want. Tian explained. Seems like Sir has already thought it through. You are prepared to earn a huge amount of cultivation resources. The serving girl sat down opposite to Tian. She propped up her chin with both hands and stared at Tian. She then spoke in a weak voice, Sir, can you take off your mask and let me take a look? Tian glared at the serving girl. It's too ugly, it would scare you. The serving girl shook her head. I don't believe it. Sir must be extremely handsome, and is afraid that your talent would scare others. That's why you wear a mask. You really know how to talk. Tian laughed. Governor Xiahou pays his respects to Grandmaster D. At this moment, a voice drifted over from outside the courtyard. Tian's eyes flashed as he turned his gaze over and smiled. Welcome the guest. Governor Xiahou actually came. The serving girl started and hurriedly went out to welcome the guest. Very swiftly, Governor Xiahou brought the vice-governor of the Yan clan over. Lord Governor, your presence brings light to our humble dwelling. Tian clasped his hands. His original body had met Xiahou before, and was even humiliated by Xiahou. He naturally recognized Xiahou. This Governor Xiahou was extremely arrogant in the Li-Fire Palace. Now, he actually came here personally. This caused Tian to feel somewhat surprised. You're too polite. I've already heard of Grandmaster D's deeds. You are extremely outstanding. Xiahou is truly impressed. Governor Xiahou smiled. Since I came here today, I won't beat around the bush. The governor's manor lacks talents like you. Tian, if you are willing to join the governor's manor, I will directly appoint you as a vice-governor. At that time, you might even have the chance to come into contact with the Li-Fire Empyrean. In the future, one of the 5 governors would definitely belong to you. Chapter 1580. Xiahou's words were very direct and he wasn't exaggerating. Given Tian's attainments and formations, if he broke through to the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm in the future, he would definitely have the qualifications to become one of the 5 governors of Li-Fire City. Naturally, the prerequisite was that the Li-Fire Empyrean had to trust him and give him a position. But what benefits does this bring to Governor Xiahou? Tian asked. I'm in need of a capable subordinate to assist me. After all, it's impossible for me to remain in this position forever. I naturally want to climb higher. Xiahou spoke, his words were as direct as ever. I understand Governor Xiahou's meaning. It's just that Tian is used to being free and unrestrained. I don't like to be controlled. I can only thank Governor Xiahou for your kind intentions. Since the other party was so direct, Tian didn't want to beat around the bush and directly reject it. What a joke, wanting him to be Xiahou's subordinate. His original self was already a governor in the northern city regions and was on the same level as Xiahou. Did a mere vice-governor want to dismiss him? Tian, although your attainments and formations are high, you have to understand that this place is Li-Fire City and Li-Fire City is also a part of the lifelong realm. This vast and boundless region is governed by the Realm Lord. Only by entering this place would you truly have authority and authority. You would have a chance to rise up to the heavens. Governor Xiahou persuaded. I naturally have my own thoughts. Tian's expression didn't change at all as he calmly replied. Everyone has their own ambitions. Since this is the case, I won't persuade you any further. Governor Xiahou spoke. Farewell. After speaking, he directly turned and left, no longer as polite as before. After all, his status was there for all to see. He personally came here to invite Tian to join his governor's manor but was rejected. He naturally felt that he had lost a lot of face. Governor Xiahou, take care. Tian spoke, coldly laughing in his heart as he watched Xiahou leave. As expected, a person's personality wouldn't change so easily. Back in the Li-Fire Palace, he could already sense Xiahou's arrogance. That kind of domineering aura of someone with a high status couldn't be concealed. Naturally, he didn't want to hide it. Sir, are you really going to reject him so directly? The serving girl blinked. Governor Xiaoho personally came to invite Di Tian, wanting him to become a vice-governor. This was truly extremely tempting, but Di Tian didn't even consider it and directly rejected it. Vice-commander? Di Tian laughed. Maybe if he gives me his position I might consider it. The maid froze when she heard this. After which, Di Tian continued, Little Zhu, let's go out for a walk. Where are we going? The maid asked. The Mo family has already sent people to visit them twice. It's only right that we pay them a visit. Di Tian laughed. The serving girl smiled and nodded. Upon seeing Di Tian's current status, she was naturally very happy in her heart. In Lifire City, initial stage immortal emperors weren't considered impressive characters. They could be seen everywhere and had no status. However, her young master, who was an initial stage immortal emperor, was already a major character. All the major aristocratic clans would personally send people to pay their respects to him. Lin Fan could still remember the arrogant tone of that person from the Yin clan back then. Wanting young master to attend a gathering. Only the outstanding ones would be able to become a guest elder of the Yin clan. What a joke. But now, young master was going to pay a visit to someone else, and it was to head straight to the Mo clan, which was on the same level as the Yin clan. The changes were truly quick. However, young master was still calm about it. The Mo clan naturally welcomed Di Tian's visit very much. An elder of the Mo clan, Mo Fei, personally came out to welcome him. When Di Tian stepped into the Mo clan, he immediately ordered people to prepare a grand banquet. At the banquet, many major characters of the Mo clan were present. The one sitting at the head of the banquet was none other than the current clan leader of the Mo clan, Mo Ting. Mo Ting appeared to be less than 40 years of age and was glowing with health and vigor. When he was young, he must have been a handsome young man. Di Tian, Mo Fei has nothing but praise for you. I also want to see what sort of character you are exactly able to cause the Yin clan to lose all face with just an initial stage immortal emperor. Mo Ting smiled as he raised his cup to Di Tian. Clan leader praises me too much. I was just lucky. That Yin Feng's attainments in the Tao of formations are extremely high. Di Tian raised his cup and laughed. What cultivation base does Yin Feng have? He's at the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, and has been famous for many years. As for you, although you are wearing a mask, I can tell that you are very young. In the future, let alone Yin Feng, no one in the entire Yin clan would be able to compare to you. Naturally, it's the same for my Mo clan as well. Mo Ting laughed. This was already considered an extremely high evaluation, causing many people in the Mo clan to have looks of shock on their faces. Clan leader, please don't tease this junior. Right now, I still need to temper myself and improve myself. Di Tian was still as calm as ever. This caused Mo Ting to smile at him. He then spoke to a young woman beside him. Junyi, weren't you always interested in the Tao of formations? You always despise us old men for being too weak. Now Di Tian is as young as you. I think his age should be below 500 years old. Why don't you seek guidance from him? Mo Junyi was Mo Ting's daughter. Her beauty and talent were both outstanding, and she managed to break through to the immortal emperor realm after cultivating for 500 years. Such a cultivation speed could be considered extremely outstanding even in the supreme ancient immortal realms. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, because of the abundance of cultivation resources, as well as the experience of the predecessors, their cultivation arts and innate techniques were all more powerful. Hence, those with good backgrounds would have a much faster cultivation speed compared to those in the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. But even so, those who managed to break through to the Immortal Emperor realm within 1,000 years could still be considered geniuses. Let me toast Grandmaster Di Tian. Mo Junyi lifted her wine cup and walked to the side of Di Tian. Miss, you can just call me by my name. Di Tian drank his wine together with her as he smiled. Sure, you can just call me Junyi. Mo Junyi smiled. The Tao of formations is extremely difficult to cultivate. I'm very interested in formations, but I'm also infatuated with the martial path. Hence, I didn't spend too much time and effort on the Tao of formations. Di Tian, you are actually so outstanding in both aspects. You are simply a monster. The great Taoists are interlinked. There's no contradiction between the two. Di Tian smiled. How do you explain this? Mo Junyi curiously asked. I've been cultivating divine inscriptions since I was young. The Tao of inscriptions is the foundation of the great Taos of the heavens and earth. From my point of view, all kinds of innate techniques as well as sinister formations can be derived from it. Ditian smiled. The principles of cultivation in the world sound simple, but how difficult is it to truly comprehend them? Since you are able to link both of them together, you are truly a genius. Let me toast you again. Emojuni raised her cup and smiled gently. Ditian naturally wouldn't reject. The serving girl behind him couldn't help but to twitch her lips when she saw this scene. Sigh, the young master is still too inexperienced. Emojuni was a famous beauty in the central city regions. Regardless of her looks, demeanor or cultivation base, she was the cream of the crop. The clan leader of the Emo clan, Emoting, wanted her to act personally. How could the young master not be smitten by her? Ditian, now that you are already famous in Lifefire City, you must have received invitations from the various powers. I wonder what your plans are in the future? Elder Emo Fei, who was seated below Emo Ting, probed. Elder, do you want to hear the truth? Ditian laughed. Naturally. Emo Fei started before he nodded. In truth, before I joined the Yen clan, I've already planned to become famous as soon as possible. It's just that the Yen clan coincidentally offended me at this moment, or I wouldn't have come here to challenge them. As for my purpose of becoming famous, it's very simple. Cultivation resources. Everyone knows how difficult it is for unaffiliated cultivators to obtain cultivation resources, unless they are bandits. But as a formation grandmaster, if I want sufficient cultivation resources, the best method is undoubtedly to become famous and become a famous formation grandmaster in Lifefire City. Ditian slowly spoke. Emo Fei's eyes flashed as he continued, however, given your capabilities, no matter which power you want to join, I'm sure no one would reject you. Becoming a vassal of a major power, even if it's a world overlord's power, can it be compared to the resources a famous formation grandmaster has? Ditian laughed. In addition, I've always been used to being free. I'm not willing to be controlled by others. I still wanted to recruit you, but it seems like there's no hope now. Emo Fei honestly laughed. He naturally understood that Ditian could tell this as well. There was no need for him to hide anything. I appreciate Elder's kind intentions. Earlier you asked me about my future plans. During these few days I've gotten acquainted with many major powers, and there would definitely be many things I need to do in the future. I'll first accumulate enough cultivation resources and slowly improve myself. After that, I'm prepared to focus on weaponsmithing. Ditian spoke. Weaponsmithing. The eyes of many flashed with sharpness, including the Emo clan leader, Emo Ting. He stared at Ditian. You are also proficient in weaponsmithing? Everything is interlinked. A good weaponsmithing grandmaster first has to be a formation grandmaster. I believe everyone here understands this point better than me. Ditian laughed. A weaponsmithing grandmaster could convert their strength into cultivation resources. The demand for divine weapons was endless. This was especially so if you can forge powerful divine weapons, you wouldn't need to worry about not being able to sell them. Ditian, if you need any help in the future, feel free to look for my Emo clan. The Emo clan leader, Emo Ting, laughed. A genius like Wu Xiao, a grandmaster in both formations and weaponsmithing. Even if Ditian didn't join their Emo clan, he was still someone worth befriending. Although he might not be of much use to the Emo clan now, that might not be the case in the future. Many thanks, clan leader. Ditian smiled and nodded. Ditian, my Emo clan still has many good items. Why don't you rest here for a few days and read through the records of our Emo clan? Emo Ting spoke. Although Ditian came to the Emo clan for the sake of building a good relationship, the Emo clan's generous treatment caused him to hesitate. I also want to seek guidance from you. Why don't you stay here? Emojuni gently smiled. Ditian fell silent for a moment before he nodded. Sure. The little serving girl behind him twitched her mouth again, revealing a look of disdain as she stared at Ditian's back. Just like that, Ditian stayed in the Emo clan for a few days. During these few days, the Emo clan treated him with great hospitality, and even allowed him to read through some records regarding the Tao of formations. Emojuni also accompanied him frequently. Such treatment was truly enviable. After he left, in a courtyard in the Emo clan. Father, is there a need for me to treat an initial stage immortal emperor like this? Junyi spoke to Ting. A look of grievance could be seen on her dignified and beautiful face. After accompanying Diton for so many days, that fellow actually didn't even remove his mask. I asked you to accompany him for a chat, not to seduce him. What's there to feel aggrieved about? Ting rolled his eyes at his daughter as he smiled. Just as well. I'll let you interact with the geniuses of the outside world, lest you become arrogant. Let alone this young man isn't simple at all. Even if he really becomes a weaponsmith in the future, how can he shake the position of our Mo clan? Junyi spoke. You don't understand. He became famous in the Tao of Formations, and after that, he entered the path of weaponsmithing. However, his ambitions lie elsewhere. Ting shook his head. He stared at Junyi as he spoke. Junyi, you have to remember this. You can't judge a person by their appearance. He started from the Tao of Formations and used weaponsmithing as his foundation. In the end, his goal was to establish a power in Lifire City. In less than 100 years, there would definitely be an extraordinary power in the central city regions of Lifire City.